Sri Sri Kalyan Kalpataru, the Desire Tree of Auspiciousness, a songbook of 62 Bengali songs, published in 1880, translation by Dasarata Sudadasa. Table of Contents. Introduction. Basic outline for Kalyan Kalpataru. Index of song topics. Vandanam, introductory prayers, Mangalakarana, auspicious invocation. 1. First branch, Upadesa, spiritual advice, 19 songs, each treating a different subject of discussions. 2. Second branch, Upalabdhi, attainment of realization. 1. Anutapalaksana Upalabdhi, attainment of the symptoms of heartfelt repentance, e5 songs. Il. Nirvidalaksana Upalabdhi, attainment of the symptoms of despondent, disinterested callousness towards material worldly affairs, 5 songs. IIL, Sambandhayabhidya Prayahana Upalabdhi Vijanana, attainment of the realization of one's relationship with the Lord, actions according to that final relationship, and realization of the final goal, plus songs. 3. Third branch, Uchvasa, overflowing spiritual emotions, I. Prarthana Danyamai, prayers of utter humility, 5 songs. 1. Prarthana Lilasamai, prayers of eager longing, 12 songs. 3. Vijanapti, confidential confessions, 4 songs. 4. Uchvasa Kirtana, the chanting aloud of swelling and overflowing spiritual emotions, 8 songs. A. Nama Kirtana, chanting of the Lord's name, 2 songs. B. Rupa Kirtana, chanting of the Lord's beauty, 1 song. C. Guna Kirtana, chanting of the Lord's qualities, 2 songs. D. Lila Kirtana, chanting of the Lord's pastimes, 2 songs. E. Rasa Kirtana, chanting of the Lord's mellows, 1 song. Introduction. Fathomless eternal mercy of Sri Sri Guru Gauranga has descended to enable the present publication of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura's famous Bengali songbook, Kalyan Kalpataru, for the first time in the English language. Feeling great concern for the sufferings of the conditioned souls, Lord Chaitanya's own close associate Om Visnupada Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura has brought Sri Kalyan Kalpataru from the forest of ultimate welfare in Vaikuntha down to this miserable desert-like material worlds, which is scorched by Kali Yuga. From this special desire tree, he has distributed the fruits of Mahakalyan, topmost spiritual welfare, to the fallen souls, a benefit which cannot possibly be described in the languages of this worlds. Even the hearts of the atheists, the sinners, the distracted sense gratifiers and the puffed-up egoists can become soothed by the cooling shade offered by this merciful Kalyan Kalpataru, or desire tree of auspiciousness. Thakura Bhaktivinoda states his purpose for bringing the tree in his original Bengali introduction. Those whose lives have been carried away by numerous problems such as useless arguments, idle gossip, sense gratification, laziness and sleep will sometime get illumination in their lives by the rays offered by the glance of Bhakti Devi, the goddess of devotion, due to getting the systematic mercy of the sadhus and Lord Krishna. This illumination will flash in their lives exactly like a brilliant bolt of lightning darts across the cloud-darkened midnight sky, bathing the ground with its dazzling effulgence. Similarly, all the instructions and prayers to the lotus feet of the Lord which are meant for purifying the polluted mind have been compiled and published in this book, Kalyan Kalpataru. In his original preface, the Thakura has revealed his own humble mood while presenting all these instructions, which are meant to educate the mass public. The real reason for publishing this book is as follows: if those Vaisnavas who are very fond of the lotus feet of Sri Hari will read this book and then cast their merciful glance in my direction, then without a doubt I will become by their grace, a suitable recipient of the mercy of Nandanandana, Sri Krishna. And this most insignificant soul has no sustenance in life other than the said mercy of these Vaisnavas. First published on June 14, 1880 from Calcutta Haribhaktipradayani Sabha, Kalyan Kalpataru was revised by Bhaktivedanta and saw its second edition published 17 years later in 1897. After Bhaktivinoda passed on in 1914, the book has been reprinted under the supervision of his son Sri Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakura up to the 8th edition. He also published it in the Oriya script for distribution in Orissa. Afterwards, the disciples of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati have continued further publications up to the 15th edition, adding an explanatory commentary for difficult words and phrases in 1941. Several songs originating in this book have already been presented in the Iskcon songbook, the songs of the Vaisnava-acharyas. They are 1. Vijanapti, popularly known as Gopinatha G3. 1-3, and 2. Namakirtana, popularly known as Vibhavarisesa, 3. 4a2. Srila Prabhupada's own explanation of the latter song is also included herein. Also the well-known song Durlabha Manavajanma can be found originating from the second chapter of Kalyan Kalpataru, 2. Ul. 4. The book Kalyan Kalpataru is a description of one special desire tree which has been brought from Vaikuntha. It has 3 branches called Upadesa, instructions, Upalabdhi, attainment, and Uchvasa, overgushing. It bears fruits of special supreme auspiciousness. The 3 divisions present a systematic path of self-realization in the form of a tree for easy understanding. We pray that all the devotees, who are also like wish-fulfilling desire trees, will be pleased by our attempt at presenting Kalyan Kalpataru. If the honest readers will show their favor, then the grace of all the previous acharyas may descend again to allow future publications of their books. Gratitude is herein extended to all the well-wishing devotees who helped me to complete this book. This includes several who helped look after the English editing, and especially certain Bengali devotees, whose intimate familiarity with the ecstatic moods of Thakura Bhaktivinoda, coupled with utmost patience in conveying the same to me, is solely responsible for enabling my struggling attempt at translation to be completed. Haribo. Dasara Hasuda Dasa September 19, 1988 Appearance Day of Sri Radha. Anyone desiring information about other nectar translations, please feel free to contact Dasarada Sudha Dasa, 4120 Stacks Road, College Park, Georgia, 30349, 404768-6672. Basic outline of the Desire Tree of Auspiciousness. First branch, Advice. The first branch, Upadesa, contains the most basic, primary lessons of spiritual advice. Addressing his own mind, Thakura Bhaktivinoda gives the foundation of spiritual insight towards various problems which can deviate one in this world from the path of pure devotional service. Treating one specific problem in each of 19 songs, the Thakura expands the first branch of the Kalyan Kalpataru in various directions to cover most of the anarthas, or unnecessary distractions, which can hinder one who is on the path back to Godhead. Beginning with the first reason why the Jiva soul has come into this world, namely lust, he branches out through numerous other materialistic topics until he finally ends up chastising those who have apparently taken to the devotional path but have fallen short of the mark due to the same lust all over again. With his sharp sword of pure transcendental knowledge, Bhaktivinoda cuts bare these final devotional impediments to prepare the reader for the next stage, presented in the following chapter. Assimilation and living realization of the advice. Second branch, Attainment. Next, the second branch of the Kalyan Kalpataru, called Upalabdhi, spreads a purview of the platform of attainment, assimilation, realization, and application of all the advice received from the first branch, Upadesa. This stage of Upalabdhi is further divided into 3 categories: 1. Anutapa, repenting due to genuine realization; 2. Nirvida, thorough detachment from material temptations due to genuine spiritual realization; 3. Sambandhayabhitya prayahanavijnana, realization of practical action in accordance with that relationship, and realization of the final goal of life. All the preliminary realizations presented in this chapter prelude the outburst of gushing spiritual emotions which are to be revealed in the next chapter. Third branch, Overgushing. The third and final branch presents various types of ecstatic uchvasa or outbursts of spiritual emotions which overflow and gush out of one's heart after he attains self-realization. This chapter is divided into 4 sections as 1. Prarthana Danyamayi, prayers offered by a pure soul in genuine transcendental humility; 2. Prarthana Lalasamayi, prayers which express specific transcendental hankerings or longings for devotional service; 3. Vijanapt confessions of one's own mind accompanied by repeated pleading in order to petition the Lord, and 4. Uchvasa Kirtana, those songs of worship and praise which express overflowing emotions saturated with pure progressive realization of the Lord's Nama, name, Rupa, beauty, Guna, qualities, Lila, pastimes, and finally Rasa, mellows. All these features of the Lord's absolute existence are inseparable and identical, but they are progressively realized in these graduating levels as increasing manifestations of sweetness. In his book named Harinama Sintamani, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura presents a clear interrelation of these different aspects which may be paraphrased here briefly. The Lord's Nama or holy name, is just like the freshly sprouted bud of a flower. When the bud opens up slightly, then his rupa or beautiful form manifests. The fragrance of this slightly opened bud is his guna, or qualities. When the bud finally blooms fully and open wide, then his lila, or eternal daily pastimes are manifested. Thus, the internal spiritual advancement similarly develops for a fortunate soul who properly chants this third branch of Kalyan Kalpataru. Then, the final song entitled Rasa Kirtana reveals the culmination of the spiritual life of the aspiring devotee. In the perfect spiritual body of a gopi, one hears Krishna's flute calling and becomes stricken with anxiously frantic insanity. Then, due to the overwhelming transcendental desire to please Krishna with the whole of her existence, she madly rushes to the forest to meet him for the Rasa dance. Coming into the clearing and beholding Krishna in her mood of total self-surrender, the gopi. Just then Thakura Bhaktivinoda, fearing that the reading may not have the adhikara, qualification, to hear about what happens next, throws his pen down violently on the table and cries out in exasperation, "Why is my pen so feeble? It cannot possibly express all these ecstatic pastimes with Krishna which are causing my heart to throb incessantly. Curses on this weak, useless pen. But maybe it's trying to tell me something." The persons who read this book may not be fit to hear the confidential pastimes that are enjoyed by meeting with Krishna and sporting in the forest with him in thousands of different ecstatic lilas. So therefore, better take heed of this message hinted to me by my crippled, impotent pen. Thus end my Kirtana here. Thus Thakura Bhaktivinoda ends Kalyan Kalpataru, leaving those readers who do have the adhikara on the edge of their seats. Index of Songs. Topics: Auspicious Invocation and Description of the Kalyan Kalpataru. First branch, Upadesa, Spiritual Advice, 1. The Soul's Real Position. 2. Mundane Lust vs. Spiritual Lust. 3. Scientific Doubt Resolved. 4. Demigods Worship Put into Perspective. 5. Impersonal Doubts vs. Personal Truth. 6. Scholarly Logic Kicked Out. 7. Hatha Yoga is Unnecessary. 8. Merging with Brahman is Foolish. 9. Caste Pride is False. 10. Mundane Knowledge is Most Harmful. 11. Bodily Beauty is Temporary. 12. Madness for Wealth is Ridiculous. 13. Sannyasa Not as Important as Devotion. 14. Traveling on Pilgrimage Not Necessary. 15. Austerities and Penance Defined. 16. Cheating Devotees are Rejectable. 17. Fault Finders of the Disciplic Succession Rectified. 18. Bogus Ecstatic Symptoms. 19. Lust is Not Love. Second branch, Upalabdhi, Attainment of Realization. 1. Anutapa, Repentance. 1. Whole Life Wasted. 2. Bereft of Devotees Association. 3. Time Wasted in Karma. 4. Poisonous Mayaveda Philosophy. 5. Remedy for Mayaveda and Misery. 2. Nirvida, Despondency. 1. Material Life is Not Nice. 2. How Material Hopes Increase. 3. Buddy and Muddy Rejected. 4. Rare Human Birth Wasted. 5. The Nature of the Misled. Siddhadiha. 3. Sambandha Abhidya Prayahana Vijanana, Relationship, Action and the Goal. 1. Sambandha, Relationship with Krishna. 2. Vaisnava Truth. 3. Imitation Vaikantha. 4. Worship Now, Not Later. Third branch, Uchvasa, Overflowing Spiritual Emotions, Idanyamai, Utter Humility. 1. Vaisnavas can give Krishna. 2. Lord Chaitanya is the deliverer of the fallen. 3. The ocean of material existence. 4. A prayer to Yogamaya. 2. Lalasamavi, Eager Longing. 1. Longing. 2. Servant of the servant. 3. Give up non-devotees. 4. The secret of Lord Chaitanya's enemies. 5. How to take shelter of Vrindavana. 6. Favorable practices. 7. The pure devotee. 8. Prayer to the pure devotee. 9. My worshipping cottage at Navadvipa. 10. Prayer to Lord Chaitanya in Navadvipa. 11. The splendor of Vrindavana at Navadvipa. 12. Wandering madly in Navadvipa. 3. Vijanapti, confidential confessions. 1. Gopinatha. 2. Gopinatha. 3. Gopinatha. 4. A humble petition for service. 4. Uchvasa Kirtana, overflowing chanting. A. Nama Kirtana, chanting his names. 1. Names of Lord Chaitanya. 2. Names of Lord Krishna. B. Rupa Kirtana, chanting his beauty. 1. Description of Lord Krishna's beauty. C. Guna Kirtana, chanting his qualities. 1. Krishna's quality of mercy. 2. Krishna's unlimited qualities. D. Lila Kirtana, chanting his pastimes. 1. Krishna's human-like pastimes. 2. Krishna's pastimes with the gopis. E. Rasa Kirtana, chanting his ecstatic mellows. 1. Rendezvous, called for the Rasa dance. Introductory prayer by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura. 1. Those aspirant practitioners who have first had profound meditation on the purport of great statements like Tattvamasi, etc., and who have attained unity with the bliss of merging into the Brahmana effulgence, themselves find that such so-called bliss is put to shame before the completely ecstatic spiritual relationship between the taster and tasted mellows. Offer my respectful obeisances unto that most astonishing abode of such totally blissful mellows, the very moon over Vrindavana, Sri Krishna, who is the delightful festival for Sri Radhika's eyes. 2. 1. Offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which are the only shelter for all of the greatly fortunate devotees of Lord Krishna. His lotus feet cast out to a distant place the unbearable burden of the doctrine of undifferentiated monism, as it was propounded by Sriputa Sankaracharya. 3. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of my most worshipable Gurudeva, who is the personified form of blissful Krishna consciousness. Jut, to increase his transcendental happiness, will compose the book known as Kalyan Kalpataru. 4. The aggregate of the following 24 elements I called Prakriti, the 5 gross elements, the 5 objects of the senses, the 5 working senses, the 5 knowledge-acquiring senses, mind, intelligence, ego, and Mahatattva. The truth that is above and beyond all these is called transcendental truth. That truth, although being the original reservoir of all blissful spiritual mellows, is not appreciated by all persons. Indeed, those who have not developed unalloyed love and attachment to this transcendental truth will not read this book, which is just like a small jewel box for guarding the most confidential gems of ecstatic love. Thus they simply remain attached to meditating on material bodily happiness, becoming completely submerged and drowned in the insignificant ocean of lust. 5. In the abode of Vaikuntha, within the forest of ultimate good, there is one special wish-fulfilling desire tree of supreme auspiciousness, conspicuously present among all the others. 6. This tree is divided into 3 principal branches known as Upadesa, spiritual advice, Upalabdhi, attainment of realization, and Uchvasa, overflowing spiritual emotions, which increase the joy of all persons who are actually wise. 7. The shelter of this special desire tree produces the attainment of fruits in the form of auspiciousness. This means eternal servitude to the performance of Sri Sri Radhakrishna's pastimes in the realm of the transcendental force named Vrindavana, within the innermost secret abode of Vaikuntha. 8. I now humbly perform the chanting of all the songs which are sheltered under the mood of Braja, just to worship all of Lord Krishna's Jiva souls. This includes all the Vaisnava residents of Brajadhamma, Kastradhamma, and Navadvipadhamma, as well as all the Brahmanas who are beyond fruitive activities and speculative knowledge, as well as all the souls from Lord Brahma down to the untouchable outcasts and dogs. Note: the word-for-word translations are fused on Bhaktivinoda's own Bengali translation of his Sanskrit verses. Therefore expanded explanation are evident. Auspicious invocation and description of the desire tree of auspiciousness. 1. All glories to Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the deliverer of all the fallen soul. All glories to Sri Nityananda Prabhu, the divine savior of those who are lost and helpless in this world. 2. All glories to Srimad Advaita Acharya, who is just like an unfathomable ocean of causeless mercy. All glories to Srila Rupa Goswami, Srila Sanatana Goswami, and to Sri Gadadhara Pandita. 3. All glories to all the multitudes of Vaisnavas who are residing in the holy abode of Brajadama, headed by Srila Jiva Goswami, Srila Gopala Bhatta Goswami, Srila Raghunatha Dasa Goswami and Srila Raghunatha Bhatta Goswami. 4. All glories to all the devotes of the Lord who live in Sri Navadvipadama. I beg all of you together to kindly bestow your combined mercy upon me. 5. I pray to all you assembled Vaisnavas throughout the entire universe to please show your compassion by attracting me to the shade of the lotus feet of Sri Yanava Devi, my eternal shelter and the very pleasure potency of Sri Nityananda Prabhu. 6. Lam certainly most unfortunate, for cannot realize who is actually a Vaisnava. Therefore I beg that, if any real Vaisnavas hear my prayer, then please be merciful to me. 7. Please bestow upon me devotional service to the lotus feet of Sri Gurudeva. Simply by the strength of those feet I can find a clue of the real transcendental truth. 8. I pray to all of the bona fide Brahmanas to please show your favor to me by giving me firm devotional determination unto the lotus feet of Vaisnavas. 9. Thus I have taken shelter at the feet of all the Jiva souls, whether they are highly elevated or even if they are very low-born, for in truth I am actually the most fallen soul, very lowly and insignificant. 10. All of you Vainsavas, being very merciful towards me, kindly bless me with the following boon. I pray that all of you will show your soft-hearted compassion by respecting and appreciating what this book has to say. 11. If all the devotees thus appreciate this book, then I will receive the causeless mercy that they will shower upon me. O brothers! And by the mercy of all these Vaisnavas, will attain devotion to the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. 12. My dear friends, know it for certain that the life of a person who is averse to any Vaisnava is lived meaninglessly, without any purpose at all. Indeed, this is known throughout all the land. 13. In the transcendental realm of Sri Vaikuntha there is a forest of the supreme perfection of life. Existing beautifully within that transcendental forest are innumerable wish-fulfilling desire trees. 14. Amongst all the desire trees within this transcendental forest, there stands out one special tree, which is actually the king of them all. This one is named the desire tree of auspiciousness, and it conspicuously exists here within the eternal abode for all of time. 15. What a wonderful sight is this special desire tree, as it stands with its threefold trunk. These three divisions branch out as Upadesa, spiritual advice, Upalabdhi, attainment of realization, and Uchvasa, overflowing spiritual emotions. 16. This tree is very beautifully decorated with flower blossoms of especially sweet devotional service. Plus there are innumerable fruits which are named Kalyan, auspiciousness. 17. Any honest or noble person who sincerely takes shelter of this transcendental tree get to taste these fruits of special, supreme auspiciousness, which is devotional service to Lord Krishna. 18. By utilizing the strength that I am obtaining from the mercy of the lotus feet of Sri Gurudeva, I have now brought this wonderful desire tree of auspiciousness here. 19. O honest and noble persons! Please hear what has happened now. When one brought the tree here, I have pulled it forcibly and handled it very roughly due to my harsh mentality, therefore it has now lost its original splendorous beauty. 20. Now I wish that all of you should become the gardeners of this transcendental tree and, by regularly watering it with your faith and devotion, make it beautiful again. 21. By pouring the water of your faith, the fruits of auspiciousness will fructify into eternal service to the divine couple Sri Sri Radhakrishna, which all of us together will taste and relish. 22. Just eat all these sweet fruits of conjugal service while dancing and chanting the holy names. And on the strength of this devotional service, please extinguish the blazing forest fire of all the useless arguments that I will now begin to describe one by one in the first chapter of this book. Kalyan Kalpa taru, the desire tree of auspiciousness, first branch, Upadesa, advice, 19 songs introduction, Siksha and Diksha Gurus, 1. The initiating spiritual master shows his causeless mercy by giving his disciples instructions in chanting the Harinama mantra. By so doing he points the disciples towards the direction of the truths pertaining to the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. 2. But I consider the numerous instructing spiritual masters to be more important, for they show unlimitedly more mercy by training the neophyte devotees in all the essential aspects of practical, regulative devotional service, sadhana bhakti. 3. Therefore, offering my prostrated obeisances unto the lotus feet of all instructing spiritual masters, I will now narrate this garland of different types of spiritual advice, which will all be directed towards my own mind. Song 1. The Sole Real Position. 1. O my dear mind, please tell me why you uselessly adore and worship such false things in this world. This material world is simply composed of 5 gross elements, earth, water, fire, air and ether, but the pure spirit soul somehow wants to keep himself in a most degraded condition of abject ruination by remaining within this unfathomable ocean of inauspiciousness. 2. The spirit soul actually lives beyond these 5 gross elements, and he is always spotlessly pure, devoid of material designations, and abounds in auspicious spiritual happiness. He is certainly a fit receptacle for pure love of Godhead, which is beyond the range of Maya's illusions. O my dear mind, my dear friend! You are meant to be situated in pure transcendental existence as pure spirit soul, so ask you now, why do you become enchanted and captivated again and again within this dull material universe? 3. Just become a little introspective for once, and try to keep in mind the fact that pure spirit soul is actually eternal and full of nectar. Such intelligent judgments are quite befitting you. Reassuming your real form as pure soul, just remain always in Vrindavana under the shelter of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. 4. Make the worship of the divine couple your only object of pursuit. And in the company of their most dear cowherd girlfriends and maidservants, just perform transcendentally joyful service unto their pastimes for all of eternity. Lam not able to predict the destination of those foolish souls who dare to neglect such a treasure as this conjugal service. Song 2. Mundane Lust vs. Spiritual Lust. 1. My dear mind, you are so fondly attached to rolling to and fro upon the waves of lust. Abandoning your sensual material lust, just render service in pure spiritual lust and thus extend yourself into the realm of transcendentally uncommon pastimes. 2. It is not possible to quench the thirst of this temporary mundane lust, for its nature is to continuously create a disturbing situation. Although you desire the things associated with lust, still you cannot always get them. And even if you do get the things you lust after, you cannot keep them, for such temporary things will give up your company very soon. 3. My dear mind, you faithfully render service to this mundane lust, but I see that it actually cannot give you anything substantial, rather, it simply burns my entire body with miserable dissatisfaction. So then just give up all your false material lust and just accept the true, spiritual lust by worshipping the Cupid of Vrindavana. He will shoot your spiritual body full of his flower arrow, and you will thereby become filled to the brim with eternal ecstatic love for him. Song 3. Scientific Doubts Resolved. 1. My dear mind, you are most suspicious and doubtful at heart. Having come into this material world, and becoming conditioned within the prison cell of this dull material body, you have become stupefied by being attached continuously to temporary external matter. 2. Mind, you are forgetting your own eternal home, and you are rendering faithful service to dull material lust. Thus you cannot perceive anything beyond the gross inanimate objects which are directly contacted by your senses. Your true nature as pure spirit soul has become covered over and remains hidden inside your body. 3. Dear mind, according to your materialistic knowledge and feeble enlightenment, you always meditate on so-called scientific subject matters, but all of that is simply limited to all the moving and non-moving things which are confined within the jurisdiction of this temporarily created universe. To whom shall I tell the story of my anguish? I have abandoned my eternal Father simply to rely on such an unsubstantial and insignificant reality. For, my dear mind, you are not seeing the truth of the nature of the soul, and thus you have given up the natural pure goodness of your heart. You have put a stop to all spiritual activity by taking yourself far away from the soul. You always maintain the doubt, does the soul exist or not, and thus in you so-called scientific meditations you gradually become more and more fond of such doubting. 5. My dear mind, in this way you are falling into the illusory mistakes of the insensitive world of matter, and thus your own real self has become transformed into an entirely different, false personality. Now just take heed of my advice, dear friend, and don't cheat your own soul in this way any longer, but from now on please keep yourself in the company of the devotees of the Lord. 6. By the power of the Vaisnava's compassion, then all of your doubts will be long gone, and your soul will become yours once again. You will attain the transcendental abode of Vrindavana, my dear mind, and there you will wait upon Radhasyama in your eternal spiritual body which abounds in ecstatic shivering and torrents of joyful tears. Thus the real wealth of Bhaktivinoda is to keep continuous, intense absorption in the beautiful lotus feet of Sri Radhakrishna. Song for Demigod Worship put into perspective. 1. My dear mind, you are certainly most vile and wicked. Your Lord is Sri Hari, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So then why are you abandoning him to worship the various demigods, following the path of lust? 2. The Supreme Lord is one absolute truth, above and beyond the Brahman effulgence. Therefore honor him only with resolute determination, and completely dedicate the whole of your life unto him. As far as all the innumerable demigods are concerned, their power and authority compared to his is only partial, for they are each the absolute controller of only one specific type of work within this material world's administrative department. 3. Maintaining polite respect for all these demigods, worship only Lord Hari, for he is the only supreme controller of all these other small controllers. Incessantly pass your time, my dear mind, by arduously endeavoring for intense, single-minded devotional service unto him, whose total potency of Maya is simply his insignificant shadow reflection. 4. By pouring water on the root of the tree, all the branches and leaves become strong and healthy. It is useless to try to pour the water on the top part of the tree only. Similarly, all the demigods are the dear friend of one who has actual devotion to Hari. Indeed, they all show great honor and respect to the devotee of the Lord. Now Bhaktivinoda is telling you, dear mind, just worship always, just worship ceaselessly, just worship eternally the divine lotus feet of Radha and Krishna. Song 5. Impersonal Doubts vs Personal Truth. 1. My dear mind, why do you have all these skeptical doubts? You despise the material world just to facilitate your merging into Brahman, but you are afraid to worship Hari, the Lord of ecstatic love, for fear of perceiving your own eternal, spiritual form. 2. This fear is due to your thinking that everything is made of Brahman. You imagine that if you were to meditate on your eternal spiritual form, that sometime later you may become influenced by forms made of the material energy. Therefore you are convinced that the Absolute is without any form, spotlessly pure, all-pervading, eternal and formless. 3. And now, swayed under the influence of this non-ecstatic philosophy, your actual blissful spiritual nature has not entered your heart. Therefore your so-called impersonal Brahman realization has actually shortchanged you from your true ecstasy, and thus you simply remain in scarcity for want of true love. Renouncing this logical jugglery, just take shelter of beautiful moon-like Krishna, who is the ecstatic manifestation of supreme bliss. 4. In comparison to the impersonal Brahman, Lord Krishna's original personal form is composed of eternity, knowledge, and bliss. He is the reservoir and source of pleasure and sweetness for all living entities. He is the complete form of beauty at all places and at all times. These are some of his special, wonderful characteristics. None of these wonderful qualities can be found in the impersonal Brahman. 5. Therefore now declare that the Brahman effulgence is actually the transcendental effulgence of Lord Krishna's body, it is his extremely vast and ostensive aura. He who is the Brahman, and above that, the Pra-Brahman, is the original form of Lord Sri Krishna, for whom Bhaktivinoda has love and affection. Song 6 Scholarly logic kicked out 1 My dear mind, what kind of contemptible rubbish have you fallen into now? Studying intensely in the schools of Navadvipala, you have been awarded the distinguished title of Nayaratna, a jewel of a logician. Then, disguised as a Vaisnava, you indulge in long, dull arguments based on logic and reasoning, considering such logic to be your best object of pursuit. However, such time-wasting arguments are exactly like the meaningless croaking of a small frog in the wilderness. In other words, such a sound is simply an unnecessary disturbance to the ears. 2. To support your deceptive hoax and to get a firm footing on a bogus intellectual platform for oppressing and defeating others, you deliberate on an aggregate of materialistic subjects such as knowledge of intrinsic word meanings in relation to all the things which you can perceive within this universe. However, the ultimate result of all your logical arguments and your labeling of material objections simply like a dreadful poison, and you never considered that this poisonous influence is extremely difficult to check. 3. Just see, dear mind, your heart has indeed become as hard as a rock, and the seed of the creeper of devotion cannot possibly grow in such a barren place. So then how will you cross over this vast ocean of material existence? In this position you can only guess about the nature of the Supreme Lord, just as a clay pot maker will observe the vast creation. When the simple-minded potter guesses about the Supreme, he thinks that the entire material creation is just like a larger version of his own simple potter's wheel, and that the Lord is the potter. In other words, by seeing a clay pot, you can guess that there must have been a potter to make it in the first place. This philosophy is very crude and contains no scope for developing love for the Supreme Lord. 4. Renouncing your own natural samadhi, and practically worshipping that which you can prove by simply guessing, without actual realization, your heart has become devoutly attached to arguing about such useless logic. Oh, to hell with all this rubbish logic. It has not made a comfortable seat in my heart for Lord Krishna to sit on. My dear mind, advise you to constantly kick out such an unreasonable argumentative mentality, and just worship the moon like Krishna Khandra, the topmost truth. Song 7 Hatha Yoga is unnecessary one. So, my dear mind, now you want to become a yogi. You read the various scriptures which describe different routines and techniques of sense control, breathing exercises, and sitting postures. 2. For attaining ultimate samadhi you undertake many difficult practices like withdrawal of the senses, meditation, and perseverance. Tell me, what wonderful result will be there in exchange for such endeavor? Minimizing your bodily and mental activities, and making the senses dull and dry, you live by holding the breath in suspension. Thus you practice the yoga process while contemplating on the soul's nature as Brahman. 3. You will get the 18 mystic perfections and, mistaking them to be the greatest object of reality, you will entertain further wishes for still more wonderful opulences. Abandoning the plane of gross matter and entering into the subtle astral plane, you will simply undergo more troubles and tribulations all over again. 4. The eternally pure wealth of the spirit soul is simply to remain as the humble servant of Lord Hari. In comparison to this eternal wealth, what kind of spiritual result could possibly come from mundane so-called yoga practice? Just take refuge totally in the yoga of devotional service and you will become fearless, for then there is all likelihood of attaining you immortal nectar very easily. Bhaktivinoda's humble entreaty is that you just perform the blissful worship of Radhakrishna, my dear mind, and immediately reject all other goals of so-called yoga practice. Song 8 Merging with Brahman is foolish. 1. O brothers! Why does my rascal mind desire to merge into the Brahman effulgence? How astonishing it is! And to whom shall I admit it? My dear mind, please tell me why you want to merge yourself with that supreme Brahman, considering it to be the most worshipable thing? 2. A drop of water certainly has the qualities of the ocean, but is obviously not the ocean itself in quantity. A small dwarf cannot possibly touch the moon, despite his best intentions. And a handful of dust can never assume that it has become a mountain. Alas! Alas! Such a pitiful position is foolishly upheld by those who advocate the philosophy of merging into the Lord's bodily effulgence. The only profit from such doctrines is that it will make one become offensive towards the Lord, which will hinder one from attaining the supreme objective of devotion. 3. Renouncing this mischievous mentality of trying to artificially merge, my dear mind, just purify your existence and start searching for the process of getting real love for Krishna. If you would just try to understand the statements of the revealed scriptures, you will find that all the conceptions like Saojya, oneness with the Lord, and nirvana, the highest blissful absorption, are actually different features which are automatically achieved by devotion, for these benefits are unconsciously following the process of service to the Lord. 4. Statements like Tat Tvam Aci, you belong to Krishna, are fully permeated with real tangible love for Krishna, and meditating on such Veda statements helps the aspiring devotee to ultimately attain the shelter of Krishna's lotus feet. Then one will gain residence in Krishna's transcendental abode of Vrindavana, which is completely pervaded with supreme, undivided bliss. Thus one will come to know the original personal form of Parabrahman, who is situated far beyond the impersonal Brahman effulgence. 5. The network of transcendental rays emanating from his body form the splendorous light known as the Brahman effulgence, which is powerful enough to amaze the entire collection of material universes. If any of the conditioned souls desire to become content by merging into that glowing light, then that would be just like being satisfied at night with the glow of lightning bugs in the absence of the sun. The insignificant light emitted by such insects will certainly never serve as a replacement for the radiant sun, and similarly the devotees of Krishna is never content to merge with the Brahman effulgence, which is very feeble in comparison to the Lord's original form of bliss. 6. If ever there is dawning of one's good fortune, then one will see Vrindavana shining gracefully before his very eyes due to taking complete shelter of the virtuous devotees and spiritual masters. Then, becoming irresistibly attracted by Krishna, one runs and chases after the Parabrahman. Thus he simply leaves aside the insignificant realization of merging with the Brahman effulgence, for gets completely overwhelmed by the slightest contact with Krishna's transcendental mellows. Discuss and deliberate on this, my friends, make your life successful just like the great sages like Sukadeva, Narada, Vyasa etc., who all gave up Brahman realization by becoming attracted by Krishna, and then this servant Bhaktivinoda will hold on to your feet. Song 9 Caste, Pride is false. 1. Oh my dear mind, why do you still have this vain egoistic pride due to your family caste? The fact is that when a sinful man dies, then no matter who he is, the Yamadutas, the agents of Yamaraja, the demigod of death, will carry away without paying the slightest respect to his caste and family lineage. 2. Even if one does good works and enjoys celestial pleasures in the heavenly planetary systems, he is still not safe, for after his good karma is exhausted he gets equal treatment along with brahmanas as well as dog-eating outcasts. In hell both persons will receive equal punishment in one place, and for their next birth, equal ruling is administered. 3. So then why do you maintain such false pride, dear mind? Your insignificant caste vanity lasts only up to the time of your death, when it will be taken away along with your body. My advice to you is that, please don't despise any other caste if you have taken a so-called high birth in this present life. Don't search for suffering in hell by unnecessarily scorning another's apparent low-class birth. 4. If you have been born into a position of aristocratic social honor, then just live as a humble, learned brahmana, dear brother, but don't ever dare to abuse or insult any Vaisnava. For a caste brahmana to oppose or challenge a Vaisnava is just like the story of the poor ginger salesman who sells only a few paisa worth of ginger roots in the market every day. One day he saw a huge ship laden with very costly cargoes moored on the river. He went over to the ship and started demanding information about the cargo, the price, the destination, the profit, and so on. He is simply insignificant, but he wants to lord it over such huge business affairs of the sea-going vessel. And after some time the ship's crew said, "Well, who are you anyway, that you are interrogating us so?" And he told them, "I just sell a little ginger in the bazaar." So if a Brahmana tries to dishonor a bona fide Vaisnava, then he simply makes useless conflict, and he never becomes wise. 5. So if you would just combine devotion to Krishna with an effort to the best of your ability, my dear mind, then you will be situated in the perfect combination of spiritual activity. Then, whatever caste or material position you happen to be situated in, will become really successful, and you will attain all desirable things in this way. And Bhaktivinoda will sing the praises of your glories. Song 10. Mundane knowledge most harmful. 1. O mind, why do you give such importance to mundane knowledge? Your discussion and deliberation on the Smriti scriptures, various languages, and grammar certainly increases the sweet fragrant aroma of your own material reputation, name and fame. 2. But just look here and consider this for your judgment. If you have not worshipped Lord Hari, then all of you so-called knowledge is just like a vicious hell. True devotional service actually takes its birth from the seed of attraction and affection for Krishna. Such a seed is impossible to get by the cultivation of ordinary worldly knowledge. 3. I feel that the hair-splitting scrutiny of mundane knowledge is actually harmful. On the other hand, however, everyone will appreciate the cultivation of that transcendental knowledge which awakens love and attachment for Krishna within the mind. 4. Among all the obstacles to devotion, this mundane knowledge is certainly the foremost. You muse sincerely kick it out, dear mind, for the real understanding is that Mother Sarasvati, the goddess of learning, is very dear to Lord Krishna, and devotion to him is her very heart. This very devotion is indeed the sanctifying grace of Bhaktivinoda. Song 11. Bodily beauty is temporary. 1. Saitara gun hobi chai. O mind, my dear friend, why is your bodily beauty such an object of your proud vanity? This body is temporary, and there is no certainty whatsoever of permanence. After Yamaraja has paid his visit and taken your soul away, this body will then become cold. The eyes will remain motionless, and in the fiery funeral pyre it will simply turn into ashes. 2. Mind, you repeatedly behold the lovely handsomeness of this face, which is your favorite object of constant vanity. It will simply become delicious food for dogs and jackals. At that time, where will you keep all the decorative ornaments and valuable clothes which you appreciate with such high esteem? 3. Your beloved wife, sons, and friends will take you to the crematorium, and after burning you they will simply return back to their homes. You belong to whom? And whom belongs to you? Now just try to grasp the essential significance of all this. That is, the destruction of this temporary body will definitely come to pass. 4. My dear mind, if you really want the eternal, auspicious way of life, then just sing aloud the glories of the Lord always and everywhere. Also, one should certainly chant Hari Nama Japa at all times. Abandoning all useless arguments, dear mind, just worship Krishna, for such worship is certainly the only shelter of Bhaktivedanta. Song 12. Madness for wealth is ridiculous. 1. O my dear mind, you are greatly intoxicated by your wealth and possessions, but just let me tell you that this is completely useless. When this body is gone, your wealth, followers, property as well as everything else that depends on this body will be good for nothing at all. 2. Despite all the vast medical knowledge and dexterous efforts of the advising physician, one will never be able to keep this temporary body. When the life airs expire, the only thing which will be left behind is the gross body, for the soul cannot remain trapped within such a dead container for very long. 3. If wealth had the power to prolong life, then a rich king would never have to die. The demon named Ravana also thought that he possessed deathlessness, until he was finally killed by Lord Rama. Thus we see that no one to date has ever been able to protect and keep his body with any amount of money, for no one can prevent his body from dying. Therefore what is the use of your riches? 4. Dear mind, if you have any excess wealth, then just make yourself lowly and humble and use that wealth to do something beneficial for the service of the Vaisnavas. Constantly showing compassion to all souls, worship Radha Krishna, and always make your standard of behavior clean, saintly and virtuous. Song 13 Sannyasa not as important as devotion. 1 My dear mind, why do you want to disguise yourself as a sannyasi? As much as you decorate yourself externally with this garb, to that same degree you deceive yourself internally with this hoax. Worshipping your own false pride, you simply make a show of your material body by artificially accepting the dress of the renounced order. 2 Now please try to understand my advice on how to become a true sannyasi. Just make your heart completely pure, and constantly drink the nectar of Krishna consciousness. Search for that lifestyle which allows your spiritual life to be executed easily and automatically, free from any distracting obstacles to pure devotion. 3 Just be satisfied with whatever you get easily, and never endeavor for any type of artificial pomp and grandeur. Even if you do not have proper clothes to wear, just wear a loincloth, dear brother. And in cold weather you can simply wear an old torn quilt. 4 There is no need for fancy sandalwood pulp scented with perfume, my dear brother. You can use some ordinary earth or clay to mark your forehead with tilaka. Your fancy necklaces can be exchanged for a nice tulasi mala. Living like this in such a simple state of mind, all the nonsense material arrangements for so-called happiness will diminish, and you will thus be able to escape from the burning fever of materialistic existence. 5 In reality it is the strict rule of renunciation that is the wealth of the sannyasa ashrama. By following this rule, one would certainly never look forward to receiving respect from others. Beware, dear brother. Deliverance from this material world is not possible for one who wants to get such respect by taking sannyasa. Instead, he gets ensnared in mundane existence due to constantly maintaining the conceited pride of subtle profit, adoration, and distinction. 6 You are actually an eternal servant of Lord Chaitanya, and your real interest as such is devotion to Hari. What other wonderful thing could you get from the external form of the sannyasa ashrama? Casting all false prestige to a far distant place, just make your residence in the transcendentally peaceful realm, beyond the Varnasrama system, and just live on the mercy of the Rupanuga Vaisnavas as your only life-giving substance. 7 It is actually not even necessary to introduce oneself a Vaisnava, and one should never try to make a show of external pomp and grandeur. Bhaktivinoda's humble submission to you is that you should constantly sing songs about the glorious qualities of Radha and Krishna at the top of your lungs. Song 14 Traveling on pilgrimage not necessary. 1 My dear mind, you are always attached to all the different places of pilgrimage such as Ayodhya, Mathura, Maya, Kasi, Varanasi, Kansapura, Avantiya, Dvaravati, and so on. 2 You want to travel to all these holy places of pilgrimage again and again simply to the sake of obtaining liberation from the material miseries. But we actually see that your heart is not becoming resolutely fixed up by going to all these places, therefore all of you wanderings are simply useless labor for nothing tangible. 3 The ripened fruit and real benefit of any place of pilgrimage is the company of the pure-hearted devotees of the Lord. Establishing intimate and friendly relations with such devotees, let your mind be captivated by performing the charming worship of Lord Krishna in their association. Actually, any place in the entire world becomes a worshipable place of pilgrimage if devotees are living there. Thus you should immediately seek out such a place, wherever you happen to be, and you should become fixed up in Krishna consciousness by constantly remaining in the company of such devotees. 4 Personally, I never bother to visit any so-called place of pilgrimage which is devoid of the presence of unalloyed devotees, for what other worthwhile benefit could possibly be gained by taking the trouble of walking to such faraway places? Only that place which is graced by the presence of the devotees is actually Vrindavana, and only at that place can you come into contact with unlimited spiritual pleasure. 5 Liberation personified is herself the humble maidservant of that place which is surcharged with devotion to Krishna. All the water at that place is the celestial Ganges, every hill there is Giri Govardhana, and the very earth is indeed Vrindavana. Only such a place can manifest the appearance of the eternal spiritual joy which is revealed by the Lord's pleasure potency. 6. Ask you now, dear brother, what benefit would I get by circumambulating all of the holy places of pilgrimage? Personally, my vow is to serve the Vaisnavas with firm resolution and untiring endeavor. Song 15. Austerity and penances defined. 1. Be careful, my dear mind, that you don't become bewildered by ritualistic vows. With an aim to please Radha Krishna and make them favorably disposed to you, you accept various types of austere vows. You consider that this will be conducive to practicing devotional service. 2. Devotional service is actually a very simple and easily understood truth, for it is the soul's natural, inborn tendency. Your desire is to expand and enrich that devotion which is already existing in your heart. But you should be careful to consider that by undertaking unnecessarily difficult vows and austerities, you don't destroy the simplicity of the natural bhakti process. 3. The results that you get from hard labor on Krishna's behalf are extraordinary and should never be considered to be commonplace. However, if such service turns into an unnecessarily difficult austerity, then it becomes an obstacle to devotion, and it will prevent you from getting the real benefit of devotion. Instead, you will only get the benefit of the results of the austerity. 4. But just try to understand this, my dear brother. If one is worshipping Hari, then there is no need to labor for penances and austerities. If devotional service does not manifest as the result of some type of austerity, then the insignificant result of that austerity will never be accepted by a true Vaisnava at any time. 5. From all this, just try to understand the deep inner significance of the principles of Vaisnava behavior. That is, according to differences in receptivity of different persons, there is a definite difference in their rightful capacity in devotional service. Bhaktivinoda's humble submission is that you should just become a Saragrahi and accept the essence of complete surrender to Krishna, thus becoming freed from, and transcendental to, all types of scriptural rules and regulations. Song 16. Cheating devotees are rejectable. 1. Oh, my dear mind, you are certainly most restless and flickering. You are not attracted by unalloyed devotees of the Lord who are free from crooked complications, but instead you remain strongly attached to the company of sly, hypocritical cheaters. 2. Those strange, deviant impostors are considered by you to be sadhus, and you are dancing merrily in their company. And those who have a cruel and hard-hearted nature are your most worshipable objects of reverence. In great devotion you fall down at the feet of such rascals. 3. The real result of devotion fructifies for one who keeps the company of the true devotees of the Lord in a peaceful mood devoid of cheating propensities. My dear mind, giving up your unsteady flickering nature and abandoning the association of sly deceitful cheaters in a far distant place, just worship the beautiful lotus feet of Krishna. Song 17. Fault finders of the disciplic succession rectified. 1. My dear mind, have this message to convey to you. Alas, how remorseful it is that you have sold your own individuality and freedom to whose intelligently, due to being cheated by other cheaters who dissuade you away from the path of spiritual life given you by your guru. At your tender immature stage of spiritual realization, you listen to such cheaters, only to be misled from the true path. 2. You now have a new talent for finding faults with the society of devotees and the whole disciplic succession as well. Constantly trying to be aware of these minor faults that you find, you become very careful to try to purify yourself. Wearing neck beads no longer, marking your forehead with tilaka no longer, you have now made up your own new set of rules and regulations. You have rejected your initiating spiritual master, Dikshaguru, because you now imagine his influence to be a burning sensation in your heart. 3. Dear mind, you artificially agree with your former opinion, but you really don't accept or follow it, and instead you broadcast your own whimsical philosophy just to establish yourself as some sort of incarnation. Trying to find mistakes in the spiritual process and activities of the great devotees, you completely toss out your previous spiritual path as rubbish, neglecting all of your former vows and practices. 4. you have become most displeased because you think that tilaka, initiation, and neck beads are accepted only by sly, cunning cheaters. You become angry when you find some insignificant fault with the process of the treat souls, and thus you reject all attachment to the path. 5. Now just see here, dear brother, your present life as well as your future life are at stake. You have renounced pure gold simply to take some worthless ashes. Everyone says that you are bogus. If you don't accept the process of bona fide devotional service, then how will you be delivered at the time of your death? Song 18 Bogus Ecstatic Symptoms. 1. What more shall I say to you, my dear mind? You are expert at giving lip service by always speaking of love for Krishna, but the real fact is that you are renouncing the real gold simply to tie an empty knot in the border of your cloth. In other words, you lose the substance to grasp at something false. Well practiced in artificially shedding tears and in suddenly leaping here and there, you like to fall on the ground and pretend to be unconscious in ecstatic love for Krishna. You perform such mischievous pranks only to cheat the innocent public and thereby broadcast and popularize your own wicked association. This is all such nonsense just so you can attract women and money. 3. The means for attaining pure, ecstatic love for Godhead is called devotional service. If you have no inclination or attachment to this pure devotional process, then how do you expect to factually come into contact with pure love for Krishna? Carefully avoiding the 10 offenses in chanting the holy name, just worship that name incessantly, and you will attain the highest quality of pure ecstatic love when the mercy comes to you. 4. But your idea, dear mind, is to neglect the best and most auspicious process of worshipping Krishna, namely the congregational chanting of his holy names in the association of purified devotees. And you don't even bother to try to remember him in a lonely place. This is just like trying to pick fruits forcibly from a tree by jumping at them from the ground. Instead of climbing the tree to properly pick the sweet, ripened fruits from the top of the tree, you will simply get the sour, unripe fruits by such a jumping process. 5. Ecstatic love for Krishna which is completely freed from the propensity to cheat is just like spotlessly pure gold, and the fruits of such pure love are rarely found in this world. However, my dear mind, your cheating process of imitation so-called love is simply a fraud. To get the real pure love, you have to first make yourself a fit candidate, and then true transcendental love will become very easily obtainable for you. 6. My dear brother, just compare the characteristics of your bogus lust with the characteristics of true love for Krishna. There is practically no difference at all in the external symptoms of both. Nevertheless, this artificial lust is definitely not true love at all. You are completely covered with lust, but you lie and falsely call it prema. Therefore how will you be blessed with real spiritual well-being? Song 19 Lust is not love. 1. Tell me why, my dear mind. Why are you forced to dance by lust, and why do you think that such dancing is Krishna conscious? Your lust is simply abounding in skin and meat, and you are addicted to non-stop material sense gratification. Thus you factually spend your time in running, here and there, chasing after worldly sense objects. 2. The soul's original eternal nature is pure love within the innermost core of its spiritually conscious form, and the sole object of repose for that pure love is Lord Hari. Alas, how lamentable it is, that this inherent ecstatic love is now lying in a dormant, sleeping state due to the artificial covering of this temporary lust. My dear mind, banishing this lust to a distant place, just rouse and reawaken your sleeping prema. 3. Only in the following sequence does pure love for Krishna awaken. First, one develops Shraddha, faith, in the process of Krishna consciousness. Then, due to that faith, one becomes enthusiastic for sadhu sangha, the association of devotees. Then, by performance of bhajanakriya, devotional worship, in the company of the devotees there awakens nistha, steadiness in service. Then rusai, taste. Then asakti, attachment to the Lord. This attachment then gives rise to bhava, genuine ecstatic emotions, from which prema, pure love for Krishna, manifests its reawakening. Only in this sequence does prema come into being. 4. One who endeavors for this bona fide process gets the essence of pure ecstatic love for Krishna. One who neglects the proper order of this procedure does not experience the reawakening of pure prema. My dear mind, why are you maintaining the wicked mentality of apprehension and fear of this bona fide method of devotional practice? By cultivation of your lust in this mundane sphere, you will never be able to touch upon genuine ecstatic love for Krishna. 5. So by the likes of your dramatic performance of dancing in lust, you think that this is indicative of your prema, but it is actually a deceptive, feigned imitation of prema. Thus your whole process is simply gross sense gratification. My dear brother, always reject such degraded, contemptible sense gratification, casting out this grave offense to the Lord. Thus end the first branch of Kalyan Taru, entitled Upadesa, Spiritual Advice. Second branch, Uplift, the attainment of realization of the previous series of advices, Upadesa, 14 songs. Part I, Anutapalaksana Uplift, the attainment of the symptoms of repentance, 5 songs. Song 1, whole life wasted. 1. Oh no! Just see my condition now. I must be the most sinful rogue of all. Alas, alas, what have I done, what have done? The human for of life is very rare, but I have passed such a priceless life engaged simply as a slave in the service of the material energy. 2. How much time have I spent being packed up in the womb of my mother? After being born, my childhood was spent simply playing around frivolously, according to the nature of children. Then my youth quickly passed by in executing many different obligations according to social customs. All those days having been wasted uselessly, I now suffer old age in the end as my only reward. 3. Leaders can no longer get any pleasure from sense gratification, for my power to enjoy has now become reversed. My teeth as well as my whole body have now become disabled and weak. Various aches and pains make my daily life unbearable, and I am haunted by continuously hovering fear of death. Due to all this, one don't feel as if there is any security or protection from any quarter. Therefore, to what can I possibly remain attached to in this world? 4. My enjoyment of this body was limited to material sense objects coupled with my drive to enjoy them. But now my attachment and inclination to all this has faded away. Everything in life having now passed me by, my heart is extremely worried about how to hold on to this emaciated old life. 5. Alas! The real problem is that when I was young and fit, one have passed this life without ever worshipping the Supreme Lord Hari. Being bereft of the power to hold on to this body, what will do now that the final moment is approaching? Oh, to hell with my entire life. Never took advantage of the actual eternal treasure. Instead, I have abandoned my real friend, Hari, only to worship my enemy, this miserable material energy. Song 2, bereft of devotees association. 1. Alas! Now I realize that all of my days had passed uselessly, for I never had the great fortune of associating with the devotees of the Lord. Therefore, instead of hearing from them about the process of attaining the topmost goal of human life, I have wasted my time simply working hard to earn money. 2. This is such an unfortunate calamity, for now consider that have rejected pure gold simply to become attached and devoted to a small clod of dirt. In other words, I have abandoned the bright-faced golden devotees of the Lord to associate with filthy dirty persons who are averse to Krishna. Thus in their company I have passed my entire life dazed in madly intoxicated vanity. 3. Whenever I saw someone decorated with the signs of a Vaisnava like tilaka, neck beads, and sika, etc., one would laugh at them within my mind, considering them to be completely insane. Regarding this attitude of mine to be the most highly cultured behavior, have thereby robbed myself of the transcendental association of those touchstone-like devotees. So now in the end am wondering, where has all this nonsense led me to? 4. On the strength of my material education, became puffed up and completely overlooked the most auspicious form of spiritual life, which is available only by devotional service. Thus I have completely steered clear of the ultimate goal of life. But now in my old age, all of this polluted material knowledge I worked so hard for is dwindling, for my memory is gradually fading away. Just see how I am captured and tormented in enjoying the fruits of my previous material activities. 5. Now I have just one last hope. If only the devotees would be merciful to this sinful rogue by sprinkling me, with one drop from the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, the nectarine ocean of pure devotion, then will be satisfied. By the sweet influence of that single drop, I will instantly and effortlessly become liberated from the strong grip of this material world, and thus I will finally be able to cross over the ocean of nescience. Song 3. Time wasted in karma. 1. O my dear mind! What shall I say to you now? All my time has been spent inside the deep pit of fruitive activities. With high hopes of future happiness in the heavenly planets, I have fallen into the trap of fruitive actions and reaction, which is exactly like the entangling web of a spider. 2. Observing many different types of austere vows and fasting to achieve some future heavenly goal, I thus performed such useless physical labor for no real tangible result. This was just like pouring oblations of ghee onto dry ashes only. Now I am being strangled within the noose of karma, being destroyed by my own foolish nonsense. And the only result is that I have not been able to deliver myself from this predicament. 3. I conducted many sacrifices in honor of many different demigods and goddesses, as is recommended for householders in the Varnasrama system. But by doing this I only became so puffed up that I wasted my whole life in such delirious pride. I never got any peace of mind by doing all this, for I completely missed out on the golden treasure of spiritual satisfaction. So much trouble underwent because never worshipped the beautiful lotus feet of Sri Krishna. 4. Therefore to hell with my whole life. To hell with all my wealth and followers. To hell with my caste pride. To hell with all my so-called dignity of family prestige. To hell with my studies of the Karmakanda scriptures, for I have not become fixed up in pure devotion to Lord Hari. Song 4. Poisonous Mayaveda philosophy. 1. O my dear mind, just see what calamity has befallen me now. My soul is captured in a perverted delirium due to Maya's cruel tyrannical treatment, which burns me with material miseries just like fire. And with a hope of becoming freed from all this. 2. I took to the path of non-dual monistic Mayaveda philosophy, which finishes all of Maya's troubles when one merges with the oneness D. Thus drinking poison, have successfully become rid of the disturbing delirium of Maya. But just see what an unfortunate mishap has arisen now. Although the difficulties caused by the material world have been eradicated, my life is now being vanquished by the burning poison of that deadly Mayaveda philosophy. 3. By thinking I am only spirit, one certainly burns up any attachment to the material body. But is that the real final remedy, O mind, my dear brother? Certainly it is good that the disturbance of material tribulations has been relieved, but the so-called medicine of the Mayaveda philosophy has now become an unwanted burden, another trouble all over again. So now tell me where you will get the medicine which will cure this medicine? 4. These two dangers, 1. Nasty troubles given by Maya, and 2. The poisonous burden of Mayaveda philosophy, can be prevented and curbed completely by taking the nice prescription medicine recommended by the devotee physicians. And that ecstatic prescription is to drink with gusto the immortal nectar of Harinama at the divine lotus feet of Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Song 5. Remedy for Mayaveda and misery. 1. My dear mind, all I can see is unlimited material miseries and difficulties on all sides. Especially there are these 5 specific troubles. 1. Ignorance. 2. Distraction. 3. Misconcentration, plus, misdirected love, and 5. Impurity. 2. According to Patanjali's Yoga Sutra, Sadhanopada, 3rd Sutra, the affliction of these 5 miseries results in continuous degradation in the following ways. 1. Avidya, ignorance makes me completely forgetful of my nature as pure spirit soul. 2. Asmita, conceited egoistic pride causes me to be distracted from the real essence of life. 3. Abhinavisa, have become deeply absorbed in trivial pursuits. 4. Raga, I've developed love and attachment to things which are averse to pure God consciousness. And 5. Dvisa, my soul has become filthy and polluted by nasty qualities. 3. Due to all these distracting troubles, am forgetting my real home in the spiritual world, the eternal land of no anxiety. And I have become completely mad by frantically trying to enjoy all the so-called enjoyments offered by Maya's illusions. Thus I surround myself with so many misconceptions of me. Oh mind, my dear brother, just see how my heart has become full of so much anxiety due to constant worries about this is mine, that is mine. 4. I am searching for the remedy to cure this material disease of being tortured by Yamaraja, but oh no. I've met a doctor who is no better than Yamaraja at all. This doctor has given me the prescription I am Brahman, Maya is false, but now when I see the result of this so-called medicine, feel an unbearable anxiety in my conscience. 5. On one side I feel great difficulty and grief from these 5 material miseries, and on the other side stands the corrupted doctor, the Mayavadi who is just like another Yamaraja. How will I ever be able to get freed from being sandwiched in between this tormenting agony? There is only one remedy, that is, if would simply take complete shelter of Lord Chaitanya, who is known to be the most merciful, then only will easily cross over this ghastly calamity. Part I Nirvita Laksana Upalabh, the attainment of the symptoms of despondent, disinterested callousness towards worldly affairs. 5 Songs. Song 1. Material life is not nice. 1. Listen, my dear mind. I don't like this material world at all. It is simply filled with the suffering of birth, death, disease, and old age. Besides all this suffering, tell me now that good thing could possibly be found here? 2. Wealth, followers, and family members, they can never really belong to anyone. For a time they are together, and afterwards they all drift apart. All these relationships which you would love to hold on to, none or them will remain for long, my dear mind. Oh brother, know it for sure that all these temporary things are flimsy and perishable. 3. The lifespan of one living in this world is extremely short, and even that gradually decays more and more until one beholds Yamaraja hovering nearby. Afflicted with continuous diseases and lamenting in heartbroken grief, his consciousness thus degrades more and more. Finally one meets his downfall, and he again suffers the calamity of separation from his dear kinsman. 4. Just see here, my dear brother. Don't go for this mixed pain and pleasure of so-called material happiness, for it is actually the source of all your troubles. If this is the real situation, then why have you become the slave of Maya just on account of this miserable so-called happiness? Do you realize what you've done? If you become the slave of Maya, then you only rob yourself of the eternal treasure waiting for you, the supreme goal of life. 5. Just become a little thoughtful for once and reflect back on your own life story, how many demoniac temptations you were motivated by. Simply to get a little sense gratification, how many unlimitedly sinful acts have you committed? So now just see the result, the only gain in the long run is your certain death. 6. Alas! Never having once considered the purpose or goal of human existence, such a person wastes his entire life just like a dog or a pig. Then at the time of death, being bereft and cheated out of any means of deliverance, he laments bitterly and burning the fire of repentance. 7. My dear mind, so tell me why you remain stupefied and unconscious, absorbed in this useless temporary sense gratification? Want you to give it up right now, and give up all hopes for future sense gratification as well. For the expectation of this humble servant is that you will be able to conquer over this miserable material existence by being firmly situated under the protection offered by the lotus feet of Sri Guru, your most well-wishing spiritual master. Song 2. How material hopes increase one. My dear mind, why do you want to increase your ambitions unlimitedly? Don't you know that as much as one gets elevated to the high position of a king, to that same degree he meets his downfall in the end? So then calm down, get a grip on yourself and try to catch what we'll say to you now. 2. There is no limit to the increase of material desires. This is how it works: if one obtains a desire, then he gets poked by the thorn of disappointment. By that he is forced to look forward to still another desire, and in this way one keeps on continuously moving on and on from one desire to the next. As much as desires keep on increasing, to that degree there is no cessation, and all such material hopes and aspirations are not stopped even by death, they will still continue increasing even if you keep on changing bodies. 3. If you get one kingdom today, then tomorrow you will want still another kingdom to increase your domain, and after that you will want to rule the whole world. After getting that, still your desires will not be satisfied, until finally you will be renouncing your post of Lord Indra with high hopes of obtaining the power and influence of Lord Brahma. 4. If you get the post of Lord Brahma, you will then be constantly plotting how to usurp the post of Lord Shiva. If one attains the post of Shiva, then the only thing left to be attained is the oneness of merging in the supreme Brahman effulgence. That kind of desire is especially cherished by the impersonalist followers of Sri Sankaracharya. 5. Therefore, my dear mind, knowing that everything is lost within the endless network of hopes and aspirations, you should keep all such material desires at the maximum distance from your heart. Taking on the mood and behavior of a humble servant under the shelter of Lord Chaitanya's lotus feet, you should thus always reside in Vaikuntha, that place which is pervaded with everlasting transcendental peace. Song 3. Buddhi and Muddy rejected one. O my dear mind, cast out all your desires for material enjoyment and liberation. There is no end to endeavors for so-called material pleasure, although there is not one iota of real happiness in it, rather, it abounds in exactly the opposite of happiness, simply profuse misery. 2. Other than merely tingling the senses only, tell me where is the actual pleasure, in enjoying so many sense objects? This type of so-called pleasure is full of deficiency and cannot come up to the mark even to be called pleasure. Indeed, those who are truly wise will never call that pleasure, they tell it like it is and call such cheap sense gratification by its real name, suffering. And they even fear that kind of suffering. 3. Countless persons who are foolish like asses run madly after the material enjoyments which are recommended in the Karmakanda section of the scriptures, becoming intensely greedy to enjoy their material senses. But the wise Vaisnava, knowing all this to be a cheating process only, thereby rejects such deficient sense gratification and receives genuine love and attachment to Lord Krishna, which is the real essence and principal fruit of all the scriptures. 4. The desire for emancipation from the material world to merge with God is yet another wicked desire, for such a desire corrupts the righteous mentality of steadfast devotion to God. The hard labor of one who tries for this type of impersonal liberation is a fruitless burden, and is the last snare of Maya. The trick is that he is unable to give up his endeavor, and Maya's illusion does not give him up either. 5. Therefore, my dear mind, just reject these desires for Buddhi and Muddy and cleanse this heart, don't keep these lusty desires there. Bhaktivinoda does not want material enjoyment or liberation at all, but instead practices proper devotional service to obtain the lotus feet of Sri Krishna, that's all. Song Rare Human Birth Wasted. 1. The human form of life is the rarest opportunity for attaining spiritual perfection. But now I am lamenting, because I've somehow or other been born with such an opportunity, and wasted it by never worshipping Lord Krishna. Oh, to whom shall I tell the tale of this misery? 2. Having married and entered into the entanglements of materialistic family life, I passed my time in vain. I never got any tangible gain or permanent benefit, only trouble and bodhiration. 3. What kind of world is this anyway? It seems to be just like a magic lantern show that I saw at a carnival, wherein so many shadows and optical illusions dance magically before my eyes. I feel great attachment and identification with such a world, and thus day after day passes by fruitlessly, without any purpose whatsoever. 4. When this body drops dead on the ground, then what will remain mine? At that moment, all of my sons and dearest loved ones will not be able to give me any happiness. 5. I work hard just like an ass every day, and now am wondering for whom am I working so hard? I am still surrounded by so many illusions. 6. I waste every day in useless, insignificant work, and I waste every night controlled by sleep. and in every 24 hours I never for 1 second consider that cruel death is sitting very close by my side. 7. I live a very carefree lifestyle, sometimes eating a lot, or eating a little if I feel like it. Sometimes I see nice things around the town, or sometimes I do not go out at all. Sometimes I wear opulent clothing, or if I'm in the mood, I'll wear something simple. I live so carefree that I never consider that one day I will have to give up this body. 8. My poor heart is plagued by constant anxieties about the maintenance and daily turmoils created by my body, my house, my wife, my family members and my social obligations. All these anxieties are pinching me and destroying all my intelligence. 9. Alas, alas! What a remorseful situation has arisen. I am absorbed in all this trouble, but I never consider that all these things are temporary and subject to perish very soon. After I'm dead and gone, where will all of my material opulences remain? 10. When my body will be thrown into the pit at the cremation grounds, it will simply lie there motionlessly. Then many crows, vultures, ants, and worms will come and playfully sport there. 11. All the stray dogs and jackals will then become very much delighted, and in great ecstasy they will make a festival ground out of my body and will have a huge celebration and feast. 12. Just see, this is the ultimate destination of this material body. And the most amazing thing is that all of my material opulences, house, family, and friends have exactly the same destination. 13. Therefore I ask of anyone who has any sharp intelligence, please give up all of these temporary illusions presented by Maya, and kindly search after the means to get pure devotion to Lord Krishna, for this is the only really tangible eternal truth. Song 5. The nature of the misled Siddhatiha. 1. My dear mind, kindly cease from your endeavors to supply artificial pleasures to the material body. This body does not belong to you for enjoying as you please. Rather it is the most formidable enemy of one who is trying to practice devotional service in his Siddhatiha, or spiritual body. But you, my dear mind, always depend on this body and try to squeeze whatever pleasure you can right up to the limits of its physical abilities. But what you're not understanding, dear friend, is that this material body is insensitive and unconscious, and that it simply drops down on the ground when your life is finished. 2. The handsomeness of this body, as well as its strength and abilities, do not last for very long. Therefore my earnest request to you is that you please accept all these truths and don't become proud. The pure spirit soul in his Siddhatiha is eternal and ever fresh. But such a transcendental soul meets his downfall when he becomes stupefied within the cage of the material body. Thus his pure spiritual life is choked as he is, rendered insensitive due to enjoying the results of temporary fruitive activities within the shackles of karma. Part 3 Sambandha Abhidya Prayahana Vijanana 4 Song 1 Sambandha, Relationship with Krishna. 1. O mind. Please listen to me now while I narrate this explanation of the absolute truth, the forgetfulness of which causes the soul's bondage to the material world. 2. That truth is one without a second, unparalleled, and unfathomable. This truth is the Parabrahman, supreme above the Brahman effulgence, the absolute truth of all truths. 3. That truth is the energetic source of all energies, and is complete in transcendental beauty. There is no distinction between the energy and the energetic, therefore they are eternally inseparable. 4. This eternal potency is supporting and nourishing all the eternal pastimes of the Lord. For the purpose of executing these varieties of pastimes, the Sakti manifests different realms known as Vrindavana, Vaikuntha, and Goloka. 5. For the purpose of expanding the Lord's pastimes, this potency manipulates his name, abode, qualities, associates, all according to transcendental time, place, and circumstances. 6. The potency's powerful influence is meant for performing the Lord's pastimes. With him, the Parabrahman, this Sakti is eternally identical to his personal manifestation. 7. Therefore only a fool in this material world makes the conclusion that first there is the impersonal Brahman, and after that comes all the activities of various divine potencies. 8. One can understand the existence of the full moon by the obvious presence of the shining moonbeams. Without the rays, I will never accept the presence of the moon. 9. Brahma is eternally accompanied by the Brahma Sakti. I henceforth accept both of them to be one and the same eternal truth. 10. The moon like Lord Krishna is that very same Parabrahman, abounding with all varieties of transcendental pastimes within the supreme realm of Vrindavana. 11. He is indeed the non-dual truth and is the supreme source of all spiritual bliss, and by his own causeless mercy he has so kindly manifested himself on the very soil of our India. 12. Krishna is that supreme absolute truth existing beyond the material energy. He eternally performs his daily pastimes within the realm known as Vraja. 13. Krishna is the shining sun of this all-cognizant spiritual abode, and within his effulgence dwell innumerable fine particles of pure cognizance called jiva. 14. These jiva souls are by very nature full of pure ecstatic love and are all the dearly beloved of Lord Krishna. Always being attracted by Krishna, they continuously drink the ambrosial nectar of devotion. 15. Enjoying a mixture of various moods in the mellow of servitude, the jivas eternally remain subjugated and controlled by Krishna's unlimited virtuous qualities. 16. They also love Krishna in all the different moods of being related to him as a mother, father, friend, or husband. 7. Eternally in Vrindavana Krishna is the only male, Purasa, and all the jivas there enjoy pastimes in his company in the role of females, Prakriti. 8. There is no end to all of these blissful pastimes, therefore Krishna's pastimes are known for being undisputedly supreme and unlimited. 19. All the souls, in whom the desire to enjoy separately awakens, have to enter into the material world under the false conception of being a male, a Purasa. 20. Illusory material activities as well as Maya herself are both the shadow reflections of the eternal potency. In reality, Maya is the eternal maidservant of Krishna, but her job is to be in charge of operating the prison house of the material world. 21. This illusory energy Maya has created the material universe exactly like an imitation model of the real spiritual variegatedness, but with the added feature of being full of various miseries. 22. If by chance a living entity becomes averse to the Supreme Lord Krishna, then Mayadavi's duty is to voluntarily offer her temptations of material happiness. 23. Intoxicated by Maya's illusory happiness, the living entity then forgets Krishna. Under the influence of such ignorance, false egoistic selfishness arises. 24. From such selfishness she becomes rapidly absorbed in illusion, and then she develops angry grudges and envious hatred towards other living entities. 25. In this fashion, the living entities are entering the will of fruitive activities, oscillating thereupon, and gradually wandering up and down. 26. Where is the supreme eternal spiritual bliss of Vaikuntha, full of Krishna's transcendental pastimes? And in comparison, where is so-called material happiness, in which everything is spoiled by its actual misery? 27. Then when the fine particle of cognizant truth becomes addicted to the illusory energy, she suffers unlimited defeat at the hands of the very same Maya, and thus she is abused and defamed until she falls into an extremely insignificant position. 28. Alas! How wonderfully astonishing it is that the soul, although composed of transcendental energy, has accepted such difficulty by faithfully serving the temporary material body in various ways. 29. Thus wandering and wandering, if by chance the poor soul gets the association of the devotees of the Lord, then her eternal nature, which has been for so long covered over, will once again become aroused. 30. By discussing topics concerning Krishna in the association of devotees, and thus awakening her previous mentality of servitude to Krishna, all bondage to Maya's illusion becomes severed. 31. When the conditioned soul thus looks towards Krishna, then by such an act, then this very same Maya, in the form of transcendental knowledge, severs all of her material bonds. 32. The seat of this transcendental knowledge is present within this very universe as the eternal Vrindavanadhamma in India. Lord Krishna expands his abode and pastimes at this Vrindavana just to facilitate the conditioned soul's practice of devotional service. 33 When she comes into contact with this Vrindavana, the living entity becomes overwhelmed and lost in emotional ecstasy. Remaining under the shelter of Lord Chaitanya, she attains eternal service. 34 The Lord's pastimes of appearing in this world, as well as his pastimes in Goloka, are one in the same truth. Being non-different, they are simply two types of manifestations of the same pastimes. 35 The eternal pastimes in Goloka are the abode of all the eternally liberated servitors, whereas the manifest pastimes in the material world are the refuge for all of the bound-up conditioned living entities. 36 Therefore Vrindavana is the living entity's original eternal home, manifesting its own eternally true nature within the dead material world. 37 When the soul takes refuge in the lila of Vrindavana, then, absorbed in the real self, she enters into that eternal essence of the most divine principles of love. 38 When in love with matter, the soul gives off an insignificant light like that of a small glowworm, but, when relieved of the material atmosphere, she glows brilliantly like the sun, being in love with the real self. 39 All good and bad works performed out of love and attachment to matter are all born of the temporary designative nature superimposed over the eternal soul. 40 Due to love of matter, people continuously try to enjoy sense gratification, being always attached to the opulence of such material infatuation. 41 Due to this love of matter, the soul in her material body lives just like an. 42 Sometimes the love for matter makes the living entity wander up to the planet of Brahmaloka, and sometimes it gives her an inclination to attain the opulences of the eightfold mystic yoga system. 43 The opulences of the yoga system, as well as the opulences of material enjoyment, are both the causes of fear. However, the soul becomes completely fearless when she attains real love of the self in Vrindavana. 44 Persons who become averse to Krishna, becoming blinded by desires for material opulences, thus become bound up in illusory material pleasures within the snare of Maya's trap. 45 But if she somehow becomes humble and firmly established in the self, knowing the true essence of love for Krishna, the soul then rejects all desires for material enjoyment and liberation. 46 Then the journey of life goes on very smoothly and automatically, for Lord Hari bestows upon the jiva eternal service in an eternal spiritual body, even while still remaining within this world. 47 Relinquishing all mad intoxication due to caste, bodily abilities, or beauty, one becomes attached to the path of devotional service. 48 Knowing devotional service to Krishna to be the only proper path, she remains situated in the rules of conduct toward her particular order of life, devoid of any kind of anger or envy. 49 Under the controlling influence of her eternal natural activities, she passes her time always tasting the mellows of Hari's pastimes in the association of devotees. 50 Abandoning anger and envy, she gives due honor and respect to the Vedic injunctions, which are meant to be good instructions for the proper conduct of life's journey. 51 But we see that the general characteristic of the Vedic injunctions is that they are meant for facilitating the success of economic development, and from such wealth comes the fulfillment of lusty desires for sense gratification, which is usually the prized treasure of fools. 52 Thus many souls accept all this religion, economic development, and sense gratification simply as a means of passing the days. 53 People are generally spending their life in that way, but the real meaning of life is accept the flowing current of devotional service to Krishna. 54 Therefore the devotees of the Lord perform the exclusive worship of Lord Krishna, being situated above any external system such as Varnashrama, etc. Thus they transcend all the dualities of the material body. 55 Thus she does not waste any time endeavoring separately for knowledge, for she automatically realizes eternal knowledge by the strength of her devotional service. 56 Living here and there and anywhere, wearing any available cloth, she maintains body by taking only that food which is easily obtained. 57 Thus the devotee of Krishna, being overwhelmingly absorbed in the joy of serving Krishna, always wanders and roams about in the mellows of pure love for the Lord, preaching the glories of such love. 58. Thus Bhaktivinoda is singing about the causeless mercy of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who has so kindly descended at Navadvipadama. Song 2 Vaisnava Truth. 1. O most powerful essential truth of the Vaisnava! O gushing fountain of the bliss of the self! A similar truth to whose there is no equal within this material world. 2. On account of its own nature and characteristics it is famous in this world. Please hear the description of the essence of this truth. 3. The Parabrahman is the original eternal form of bliss, as well as a deep reservoir of all transcendental mellows. 4. How can any ordinary argument ever be able to touch this truth? The truth of such transcendental mellows is extremely deep and grave. It is attained only under the shelter of samadhi. Ah, such a wonderful treasure is samadhi. 6. O aspiring devotee! Just see the characteristics of samadhi with an unagitated and peaceful mind. The truth of mellows is complete, absolutely undivided supreme bliss. However, within that, the dealings between the taster of mellows and that which is tasted have an eternal principle that is inseparable. 7. The Supreme Lord is one without a second, and in his original form of Lord Krishna he is the taster of transcendental mellows, and his object to be tasted is Sri Radhika. Oh, the joy of the meeting of the supreme subject and object! And their transcendentally blissful meeting place is Sri Vrindavana. 8. The special manifestation of Sri Vrindavana within the material universe is revealed directly by Yogamaya. Those aspiring devotees who take the refuge of this Vrindavana attain the eternal truth of ecstatic love. Indeed, the very name of this model of Vrindavana here on the earth's surface is all auspicious even within the realm of Vaikuntha. 9. If the living entity ever wants to continuously render service to the flowing current of eternal bliss, he takes shelter of the feet of a bona fide spiritual master. 10. Then he rejects all types of dry, sapless worship which is devoid of appreciation for higher sentiments. He reflects deeply on the nature of the Absolute, and always arduously endeavors with taste to lovingly worship the circle of the divine rasa dance in Vrindavana, the Rasamandala. 11. My friend, your false egoistic conception of being a male is extremely feeble, for you are actually pure spirit soul. And your real family comprises the beloved objects which are tasted by Krishna, namely the eternal maidservants of Sri Radhika. Just realize the mellows of such transcendental ecstasy. The enjoyment of Maya is your downfall. Note, this song is originally composed as on single paragraph of prose type lines. But is not poetry, and not really prose either. Anyway, it has been broken up into smaller sections according to the flow of ideas to facilitate easier systematic translation and reading. Song 3 Imitation Model of Vaikuntha. 1. Sometime one may foolishly try to establish the difference between spirit and matter in a manner based only on materialistic speculative theorems, but alas! His intelligence becomes covered over by a network of illusions, and thus he can have no real illumination or realized knowledge. 2. That person who understands that matter is simply an imitation model of the true spiritual ideal achieves realization of the secret mysteries of the absolute problem. And I would consider such a person to be truly competent. 3. Therefore you can observe that this universe is simply a material imitation of the supreme Vaikuntha realm. The difference is that all of the existence in Vaikuntha is spotlessly pure, without any trace of fault whatsoever, whereas the material sphere is always full of faults and inebrities. 4. In the abode of Vaikuntha the transcendental love culminates into the highest limit of supersweet Mahabhava. In contrast, the insignificant imitative relationship between male and female in this world, and the resultant so-called pleasure of their association together, is simply an ocean of complete misery. 5. Taking refuge in a transcendentally perfect siddhadeha, or spiritual body, on the strength of his union with his own natural samadhi, the aspirant thus eternally worships in novel curiosity the son of Nanda Maharaja in the mood and emotions like that of a female. Song 4 Worship now, not later. 1. A wise, experienced man will never say, At the end of my life I will worship God, but now will enjoy happiness in family life, for he knows that this body is tottering and unstable, about to drop at any second. 2. Death certainly must come, either today or in about 100 years, so don't live so carefree, brothers. Immediately begin worshipping the lotus feet of Krishna, for there is no fixed certainty of this life. 3. One thinks, after spending my worldly life I shall go to Vrindavana, but to purify myself of the 3 debts I am endeavoring very hard now. 4. This type of idea is not the ultimate goal of life. By the influence of such a nonsensical desire, your life will depart in the end without your ever having worshipped the lotus feet of Dinabandhu, Sthe dear most friend of the fallen. 5. If you want the topmost auspiciousness, then just sing always the name of Krishna whether you live at home or in the forest. All these other arguments described here are simply aimless excuses. Thus end the second branch of Kalyan Kalpataru, entitled, Yapalabdhi, Attainment of Realization. Third branch, Uchvasa's swelling and overflowing spiritual emotions section. I Prarthana Danyamayi prayers in utter humility. 5 songs. Song 1 Vaisnavas can give Krishna 1. When will Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu show his causeless mercy to me by allowing me to attain the shade of the lotus feet of all the Vaisnavas? 2. When will I be able to give up this false ego which is so deeply engrossed in sense gratification? And when will I be able to properly honor the associates of the Lord? 3. I will stand before the Vaisnavas with folded hands, a cloth binding me my neck, and a straw in between my teeth, sincerely awaiting their order. 4. Weeping and weeping, I will understand the real nature of this abode of misery, and I will beg for relief from the blazing fire of this material world. 5. Hearing about all of my miserable sufferings, the Vaisnavas Thakura will submit an appeal unto the Lord Krishna on my behalf. 6. By the prayer of the Vaisnavas the all-merciful Lord Krishna will then become compassionate towards such a sinner as me. 7. Bhaktivinoda's prayer unto the lotus feet of the Vaisnavas is that, please be merciful and take this worthless person into your association. Song to Lord Chaitanya is Patidapavana. 1. Lamb certainly the most wicked person, always performing sinful actions. For millions and millions of births have not been able to gain release from this predicament. 2. Who is so merciful within this material universe as to pick such a sinner up and take me close to himself? 3. But I have heard about Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is known as the deliverer of the most fallen. Innumerable sinners have already been freed by him. 4. Such an ocean of compassion he is, who is distributing his own causeless mercy. When will he deliver me by bestowing upon me his own divine lotus feet? 5. O Lord! Now I will really understand the extent of your compassion only if you are able to deliver this most sinful person. 6. By what means will I get those lotus feet, since I am completely bereft of fruitive activities, bereft of knowledge, and bereft of any kind of devotion to Krishna? 7. My only hope is your compassion, for the opinion of all the Vedas is that your compassion is causeless. 8. You are the very abode of purity, and I am most wicked and evil-minded. So how will I attain the shelter of your lotus feet? 9. Weeping and weeping, this fallen and most contemptible person says, Dear Lord, all I know is that your most celebrated name is Patidapavana, the deliverer of the fallen. Song 3. The ocean of material existence. 1. Having fallen into this vast ocean of material existence, my heart has become extremely worried. I cannot even find a clue of the means to get some help. 2. I have no strength from fruitive activities or speculative knowledge. Nor do I have any help from virtues created by sacrifices, yoga practice or austerities. 3. Lamb extremely feeble, and I don't know how to swim. Who will rescue me from this dreadful calamity? 4. I see the horrible alligator of sense gratification present before me, the waves of lust are constantly agitating and provoking me. 5. From my previous births, I simply weep with an agitated mind, for I do not see any rescuer in sight. 6. O most revered Yanava Devi! Please show mercy to this servant today by virtue of your own good qualities, and kindly relieve all of his afflictions. 7. By taking the shelter of the boat of your lotus feet will certainly be able to cross over this vast ocean of material existence. 8. You are the very pleasure potency of Lord Nityananda, and you are the spiritual master of devotion to Lord Krishna. Kindly bestow upon this servant the wish-fulfilling desire tree of your lotus feet. 9. Thus this most wretched and shameful rogue begs at your feet today, for he sees that you are delivering many other sinners. Song for the delusion of sense gratification. 1. The delusion rooted deep into my heart has taken the shape of desires for sense gratification. Thus in my heart I am constantly trying to enjoy. 2. Alas! How much endeavor have I made for such enjoyment? My delusions have not gone away, and I understand that now in the end my life is departing. 3. This ghastly delusion has made me extremely restless. I have not achieved any peace, and am most disturbed at heart. 4. When will Srila Rupa Goswami bestow his mercy upon me? When will he deliver me by bestowing upon me Yadavarajya, the science of renunciation which dovetail all favorable thing in devotional service? 5. When will Srila Sanatana Goswami cause me to give up this materialistic sense gratification? Being gracious to me, he will offer me in devotion to Lord Nityananda Prabhu. 6. When will Srila Jiva Goswami pour the waters of his strong conclusive truths and thereby extinguish the fire of false arguments that burns my heart? 7. My jubilation will arise when I hear the chanting of the holy name of Sri Krishna Chaitanya, and by drinking the nectar of Radha Krishna will become free from all of my lamentations. 8. This rogue is not only wicked amongst the wicked, but is the most wretched amongst the wretched. Therefore he now begs for the shelter of the lotus feet of all the Vaisnavas. Song 5. Prayer to Yogamaya. 1. The likes of such a lowly soul as me is not to be found anywhere else in this world. Thus I have become most agitated due to falling into this vast ocean of material existence. 2. O Yogamaya! When will you show mercy to me by lifting up the curtain of illusion with which you shroud the universe in your external form of Mahamaya? You are known as Kula Devi, the traditional worshipable goddess of all the Vaisnavas dynasties. 3. I have heard of your glories and activities from the Vedic literatures. You take all those souls who are averse to Krishna and bind them within the material world. 4. To that person whose good fortune gradually dawns and allow him to again become favorably disposed to Krishna, you award him with liberation and make him free from all grief and fear. 5. O my dear mother! Showing your causeless mercy to your servant, give me a place in Vrindavana, for you are Yogamaya herself, the internal energy of yoga, or union. 6. Without complying with you, no soul at any time can get Krishna, for the manifestation of Krishna's pastimes is all enacted only by your mercy. 7. You are the devoted follower of Lord Krishna, and you are the mother of the universe. You have shown to me the transcendental touchstone of Krishna consciousness. 8. My dear mother, I sincerely wish that you will let my faith in the Vaisnavas increase at every moment. 9. Without the lotus feet of the devotees of the Lord, Bhaktivinoda is not able to cross to the other side of this ocean of material existence. Section I. Prarthana Lilasamai, Prayer of Eager Longing, 12 Songs. Song 1. Longing. 1. When will that auspicious day dawn when we'll achieve full shelter in the transcendental abode of Vrindavana? 2. The burning fire of this material world will cease, as well as all desires for sense gratification, for by being with the devotees of the Lord, all my longings will be fulfilled. 3. Becoming maddened by their chanting of the holy name of the Lord, will fall down and roll in the grayish dust at the devotees' feet. 4. When, in a Kadamba grove on the bank of the Yamuna river, will behold the beauty of the divine couple within the eyes of my heart. 5. When will Asaka show her gracious mercy to me by engaging me in conjugal service, keeping me by the side of her own lotus feet? 6. And when will I catch a glimpse of their divine conjugal pastimes? Becoming filled with the ecstasy of pure spiritual love, I will lose consciousness. 7. Falling down, I will remain unconscious for a long time, and I will thus completely forget about my own body. 8. Getting, Up I will again remember that sight which I saw while unconscious. I saw the pastimes of Krishna while I was swimming in an ocean of tears. 9. Making repeated requests in the presence of the devotees, I will ask them to give just one drop of the ocean of devotion to this wicked person. 10. Bhaktivinoda's incessant longing is for the shelter of the lotus feet of Sri Ananga Manjari. Original form of Sri Yanava Devi, Lord Nityananda's consort and pleasure potency. Song 2 Servant of the Servant 1 After how many days will I get the mercy of the spiritual master and the devotees, which will awaken pure love devoid of designations, in my heart? 2. When, oh when will my perfect spiritual body become manifest so that a confidential girlfriend of Sri Radha will show me the conjugal pastimes of the divine couple? 3. In an instant will take on the form of a mad woman, and will rush to the Kadamba forest, renouncing all of my family members. 4. When will one then experience the awakening of the 8 sattvika ecstatic symptoms such as perspiring, shivering, jubilation, tears, fading away of bodily color, complete devastation, stupor, and choked voice? 5. I will behold that spiritual abode of Vrindavanadama with these very eyes and, becoming the humble maidservant of a Sakya, I will serve those two persons. 6. When will I ever be able to come into the very presence of Srila Narottama Dasa Thakura, and when will the mellows he expressed in his book Prarthana enter into my heart? 7. Rejecting any love or attachment for anything else, this servant of Lord Chaitanya begs the Guru and the Vaisnavas for the blessing of devotional inclination towards him only. Song 3 Give up non-devotees 1 After how may das will my good fortune dawn when a Vaisnava will consider me to be his very own property? 2 By drinking the honey wine ambrosia that has washed the lotus feet of my divine spiritual master, I will become madly intoxicated and will sing wildly about the glorious qualities of Lord Krishna in Vrindavana. 3 I will abandon the company of all fruitive actors, speculators, those who are envious of Krishna, as well as those who have turned away from the Lord, despising them as being insignificant. 4 The smarta brahmanas who are simply after dull, materialistic fruitive results will conclude that I am a very agitated person and bereft of any proper behavior. 5 Such puffed up scholars, who are actually impersonalist speculators, will then renounce my association, considering me to be completely mad. 6 Seeing me thus bereft of all bad association, the most virtuous true devotee of the Lord will then show his kindness to me by embracing me in great affection. 7 Thus touching the body of the devotee, this most wicked and rejected person will joyfully experience all the 8 transcendental ecstatic sattvika transformations. Song 4 The secret of Lord Chaitanya's enemies 1 The essence of this narration is that no one can possibly have the power to understand the unfathomable ocean of Lord Chaitanya Chandra's transcendental pastimes. 2 The incomprehensible truth revealed in the scriptures is my Lord Sri Krishna. Who has the power to understand the limit of his transcendental pastimes? 3. So then why are foolish persons discussing and deliberating the revealed scriptures? They are not reaching to the end due to the simple reason that they have not accepted the transcendental pastimes of Lord Gauranga. 4. Which scripture sings of the limit of the unlimited? Simply laugh when I hear them say that Krishna is subordinate to and limited by the descriptions of the Sastra. 5. The Supreme Lord Krishna has now become fair-complexioned, and according to his own sweet will has descended along with his Vaikuntha abode in Navadvipadama. 6. When Krishna comes to deliver all the fallen souls, then all of his associates and followers also come with him to the surface of the earth. 7. Along with his fair incarnation his own devotees Jaya and Vijaya have also appeared in Navadvipa in the mood of being the enemy of the Lord. 8. In many previous incarnations they had also been born as demons, but the revealed scriptures say that they have taken birth in a Brahmana family in Gaurangalila. 9. The Samriti scriptures say that they become absorbed in a fighting spirit with Lord Gaurakandra, manifesting enmity and hostility. 10. Therefore it is a fact that all the residents of Navadvipa, whether friendly or inimical, are eternally nourishing the development of Lord Chaitanya's pastime. 11. I know that these enemies of Lord Chaitanya, coming from Brahmana background, are actually assistants for giving nourishment to Lord Chaitanya's pastime. 12. have thus prostrated myself at the lotus feet of all of the enemies as well as friends who are accompanying Lord Chaitanya during his Lila. 13. All of you eternal associates, kindly show your mercy to this servant and please make his devotion to Lord Chaitanya become completely fixed up. Song 5 How to take shelter of Vrindavana 1 when will my foolish ass-like mind finally attain a place to rest at the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, rejecting all other meditation? 2. When will I finally understand my own worthlessness? Actually there is not other soul who is lower than me. 3. When will offer my respectful obeisances unto all the untouchables? Submitting prayers unto them will humbly beg for a drop of devotion to Lord Krishna. 4. And when will I finally exhibit real compassion to all living entities? Seeing the degradation of the conditioned souls will fall to the ground weeping. 5. Weeping and weeping, I will sadly go to Sri Vrindavana, and I will take shelter of a Vaisnava in that abode of Braja. 6. Standing before a resident of Braja I will grasp both of his hands and will question him intensively about all the holy places of the Lord's pastimes there. 7. I will say, O resident of Braja, please exhibit your favor to me and kindly show me where all the pastimes of Hari had taken place. 8. Then, with a gracious heart, some resident of the Dhamma will personally take me within the depths of the forest. 9. He will say, just look there. That is the Kadamba grove in which the delightful son of Maharaja Nanda sported the Rasa dance. 10. Look. Here is Nandagrama, which is the residence of Nanda Maharaja. Look. Here is where Lord Balarama sported his own Rasa dance. 11. Look. Here is where Lord Krishna stole the clothes of all the gopis as they bathed. And, just see this place. It is where the demon Bakasura met his fate. 12. In this fashion I will behold all of the places of pastimes in Vrindavana with my intensely thirsty eyes in the company of the residents of Braja. 13. I hear the vibration of a flute upon the banks of the Yamuna river, then becoming ecstatically overwhelmed I will fall senseless upon the earth. 14. Chanting the holy names, Krishna, Krishna into my ears, then the all-merciful residents of Braja will take a palmful of Yamuna water and make me drink. 15. By hearing the holy names being vibrated and again becoming conscious, I will then continue wandering about in the company of the Brihvasis. 16. When will such auspicious days be mine? Begging like a bee, Madhukuri, I will wander from door to door. 17. I will drink a little water from the Yamuna, filling my palm. And at night will go to sleep by the door of some temple happen to wander near. 18. Then that time will come when this material body will become a tasty feast for all of the aquatics. When it is thrown into the river at the time of death. 19. Then, living eternally in my spiritual body, at the feet of a gopi in her own grove, I will finally serve my greatly treasured Lord Krishna. 20. O Yanava Devi, please show your causeless mercy to me now. This is all that is prayed for today by this desperate, worthless sinner. Song 6 Favorable Practices. 1. O my Lord Hari, when will such a day be mine? Developing love and attachment for a pure devotee, my material desires will thereby become weakened and subdued. 2. However, feel in the core of my heart, I will behave accordingly, totally free from duplicity. Without expecting any respect, I will give all honor unto others. I will constantly remain absorbed in ecstatic remembrance of the Lord by performing the congregational chanting of His holy names. 3. Just to pass this life I will perform only whatever minimum activity is required to maintain this body, and I will become attached only to that which is favorable for the worship of Lord Krishna. 4. Will forcibly reject whatever is unfavorable for his worship. Thus worshipping and worshipping, the time has come that have to give up this body. 5. These are the hopes of Bhaktivinoda while living within the forest of Gadrama. Hiding in secrecy, he continuously weeps with an extremely eager heart only for the purpose of receiving the causeless mercy of the Supreme Lord. Song 7 The Pure Devotee. 1. O my Lord Hari, when will I ever be able to realize who is actually a real Vaisnava, the lotus feet of whom are like a mine of all auspiciousness. When will I become madly overwhelmed by holding such lotus feet within the core of my heart? 2. Such a revered devotee is always transcendental, free from all faults, and fully joyful in spiritual bliss. Being lovingly attached to the holy name of the Lord, and always disinterested and callous towards worldly interests, he is always melted with compassion for all souls. 3. Devoid of any trace of false ego, fully experienced and expert in bhajana, the pure devotee is completely detached from all types of sense objects. He is always straightforward and sincere both internally and externally, and he is completely attracted to relishing the eternal pastimes of the Lord. 4. I discriminate between the three types of Vaisnavas, namely the Kanistha, beginning neophyte, the Madhyama, middle class, and the Uttama, highest pure devotee. I respect the Kanistha, I offer my respectful obeisances unto the Madhyama, and fully submit myself to hearing from the Uttama. 5. At that time, when I learn to properly honor such a pure devotee, recognizing his real quality, then only I will certainly achieve all spiritual perfection by his mercy. 6. Bhaktivinoda always keeps a vow to abstain from speaking any type of envious blasphemy unto such a pure devotee, whose life and characteristics are in all ways pure. Song 8 Prayer to the Pure Devotee 1 Please give your mercy to me now, O revered pure devotee. Vaisnava Thakura. Then only my false ego will go far away by my constant worship in full knowledge of my real eternal position. 2. If I falsely think that I am a Vaisnava, then I shall look forward to receiving respect from others. And if the desire for fame and reputation pollute my heart, then certainly I shall go to live in hell instantly. 3. Renouncing the false conception that I am a guru, I will understand myself to be your humble servant. I sincerely worship the remnants of your food, O pure devotee, as well as the water that has washed the sacred dust of your lotus feet. 4. By giving others the remnants of my food, I shall consider myself superior and shall be burdened with the weight of false pride. Therefore, always remaining your surrendered disciple, I shall not accept worship from anyone else. 5. If you will bestow upon me the right to chant the holy name, I will then give all honor to others without expecting any respect for myself. Thus I will sincerely weep in ecstasy while rolling on the ground at your lotus feet. Song 9 Navadvipa Bhajan Kutir, 1. When, oh when will such a condition be mine? Renouncing all of my mundane desires which are giving rise to various types of bondage, will give up this dark, ghastly material existence. 2. I will build my small hut at Navadvipadama, seeing the land as being non-different from Vrindavanadama. There I will finally establish my relationship under the shelter of the lotus feet of the son of Mother Sasi. 3. Living in a solitary place in a spiritually conscious forest on the banks of the Ganga, will incessantly drink the pure nectar of Krishna's name, and will loudly shout the name of Gauranga thus, 4. O Gauranitai! You two brothers are the only true friend of all the fallen souls. 1. I am the lowest of the low, most fallen and wicked-minded, so kindly bestow your ocean of mercy upon me. 5. Thus repeatedly sobbing and calling out, I will roam all over the abode of 32 square miles, sometimes on one bank of the Ganga and sometime on the other. And sometimes, while wandering about, if I'll ever receive a drop of good fortune, I may suddenly glance over at the base of a tree, and behold some vision there. 6. I will blurt out, ha ha, how wonderful! What amazing thing have I seen now, and I will faint senseless on the spot. Regaining consciousness later, I will hide and weep secretly, remembering that all this ecstasy is due to receiving just a tiny speck of Sri Sri Gauranitai's mercy. Song 10 Prayer to Gaurakisara in Navadvipa 1-0, My most youthful Lord Gaurakisara. When will you be merciful and show yourself to me, thus stealing my mind within the forest of Gadrama? 2. Within the grove of Anandasukhatakanya, you stand with Sri Gadadhara on your left side, radiating the effulgence of pure gold. With beautiful curling hair, you are wearing the fine dress of a dramatic actor. 3. in an instant Sri Sri Radhamadhava will appear and brilliantly illuminate the entire scene. Accompanied by all of their confidential friends and associates, they will dance with their necks decorated with various types of golden necklaces. 4. The merciful Anangamanjari, catching the hands of this maidservant, will take me to offer me in devotion unto Sri Sri Radhamadhava, and my eyes will be brimming with pleasure to behold the beauty and sweetness of them both. Note this prayer is submitted by Thakura Bhaktivinoda unto Sri Sri Gaura Gadadhara, his personal deities at his house in Godrama. Song 11. The Splendor of Braja at Navadvipa 1. Alas, alas! When, oh when will the two brothers Gauranitai show themselves to this most fallen person, thus exhibiting their causeless mercy? 2. By the power of the mercy of them both, I will see the transcendental splendor of Braja at Navadvipa. My mind being charmed thus at my residence at Anandasu Katakanya, I will behold such wondrous thing with my very eyes. 3. Just nearby to my kutir is Lalita Kunda, surrounded by hundreds and thousands of bejeweled altars. At that place Sri Radhakrishna can be seen, continuously sporting there as they expand their pastimes. 4. All of their confidential girlfriends are also there assisting the pastimes by performing various services for the pleasure of their lordships. This maidservant is also there, busy running here and there on the orders of the Sakais. 5. Stringing a garland of melody flowers, I will bring it and place it into the hands of a Sakya. She will place it around the necks of Sri Radhakrishna, and I will dance, filled with ecstasy. Song 12. Wandering in Navadvipa, 1. Alas! What sorrow I am expressing! When will I ever take the name of Gauranga and become disgusted with sense gratification, giving up all bodily endeavors for eating and sleeping? 2. And when will ever wander from village to village in Sri Navadvipadama, completely giving up my false ego? I will beg Madhukari from the homes of Damabasis, and thus will fill my belly. 3. Sometimes I will wander to the bank of the Ganga, and if feel thirsty, then I will drink that sacred water that has washed the lotus feet of the Lord, palmful by palmful. If I felt tired, I will simply fall down under the nearest tree. When I feel enough strength, I will give up my idleness and continue wandering here and there. 4. In a mood of humble solicitation I will call out loudly the names of Gaura Gadadhara and Sri Radhamadhava, and thus weeping and weeping I will wander throughout the entire Dhamma. 5. Seeing a Vaisnava devotee, I will fall at his lotus feet, knowing him to be the only true friend of my heart. Accepting me as his servant, the most revered devotee will then reveal to me the most confidential kirtana used for worshipping the Lord. Section 3. Vijanapti, Confessions, 4 Songs. Song 1. O Gopinatha, Lord of the Gopis, please hear my request to you now. I am just a gross sense gratifier and a wicked rogue. I am continuously addicted to chasing after material desires, and I don't even possess a drop of any good qualities at all. This is my real position. S2 O Gopinatha, you are my only last hope, therefore I have taken full shelter of your lotus feet for protection. Please consider me to be your insignificant menial servant. 3 O Gopinatha, how is it possible to purify someone like me? I have no idea about what devotion is, for my materialistic mind is completely absorbed in fruitive action and reactions. This is my pitiful condition now that I've fallen into the ghastly, dark pit of this material world. 4. O Gopinatha, everything in this world is made YP of your temporary illusory energy. This body is also, and it is totally dependent on strict material laws. Being trapped within such a body, I now find myself helplessly defeated and bereft of all transcendental knowledge. 5 O Gopinatha, this sinner is weeping and weeping, begging piteously for an eternal place close by your lotus feet. Please, please be merciful and bestow such a favor on this fallen soul. 6 O Gopinatha, you are the Supreme Lord, certainly you are able to do anything you like. I know that you have the power to deliver all sinners. So now I am admitting to you who can be more of a sinner than my most wicked self. 7 O Gopinatha, you are just like an unlimited ocean of causeless mercy. Just to show compassion to all the fallen souls, You personally come into this material world and expand so many nice pastimes before their very eyes. 8. O Gopinatha, how much of a sinner amongst sinners am I? So many demons have attained your lotus feet, but Bhaktivinoda has simply remained here trapped in this worldly existence. Song 2. O Gopinatha, please remove the burning torment I am feeling due to this worldly existence. I won't be able to tolerate it even 1 second more of the pain and agony of this repeated succession of births and deaths steeped in the mode of ignorance. 2. O Gopinatha, I am actually most faithful servant of lust. So many desires for mundane sense enjoyment are dawning within my heart, and I am being choked by the noose of fruitive actions and reactions. 3. O Gopinatha, tell me when I will finally wake up and abandon afar my most formidable enemy in the form of lust. I will only be able to do so if you would kindly manifest yourself in my heart. 4. O Gopinatha, am actual your eternal devotee, but somehow or other have abandoned you to worship this useless material world. Thus I have completely forgotten about the supreme treasure which is my birthright. 5. O Gopinatha, you certainly know everything. Now, if you wish, you may punish the servant and kindly give him eternal residence close by your lotus feet. 6. O Gopinatha, tell me if this is your mentality. Do you see that your own eternal servant is averse to you in this world, and do you completely abandon him, not bestowing even a drop of mercy? 7. O Gopinatha, I am without a doubt the greatest of fools, I could never understand what was good for me. Such is my fate. 8. O Gopinatha, you are indeed the wisest person of all. Therefore I am now requesting you to please find some way to bring about auspiciousness for this great fool. Please don't consider that this servant is some outsider. Song 3. 1. Ph Gopinatha, I have no means of success, but if you take me, having bestowed your mercy upon me, then I will obtain deliverance from this world. 2. O Gopinatha, I have fallen into the perils of material illusion. Wealth, wife, and sons have surrounded me, and lust has wasted me away. 3. O Gopinatha, my mind is crazy and does not care for any authority. It is always senseless and has renounced in the dark pit of worldly affairs. 4. O Gopinatha, I have accepted my defeat. All of my various endeavors were useless. Now you are the only hope. Note from the typist, I copied this first half of song number 3 from the Songs of Ihe Vaisnava Acharya songbook, because page number 108 was missing, so the translation may be a little different from your original. 5. O Gopinatha, how can I make any advancement towards the ultimate goal? My mind has come under the control of the powerful senses and cannot give up its addiction to enjoying material sense objects. 6. O Gopinatha, the horribly dangerous predicament I am faced with in this world will cease only if you world kindly make my heart your sitting place. Subduing my mind, please attract me to yourself from within. 7. O Gopinatha, you are known as our Siksa, the master of the senses. Seeing me in such a helpless condition, kindly subdue my senses and deliver me from this dark and perilous worldly existence. 8. O Gopinatha, the noose of materialism is tightly fixed around my neck. Taking up the sharp sword of your mercy and severing this bondage, please make Thios Bhaktivinoda your eternal servant again. Song 4. Petition for service 1. O mind, tell me how I can possibly attain ultimate refuge at the lotus feet of Sri Radhakrishna. 2. This most fallen servant has been living for a very long time being desirous of those lotus feet. 3. O Radhi, O Krishna Kandra, the very life of your devotees. Please give devotion unto yourselves in charity to this fallen sinner. 4. Please do not neglect me because I am devoid of devotion. Therefore kindly give your most auspicious instructions to this fool. 5. Your servant is very much diseased with the thirst for material sense gratification, so he's asking you to kindly give him the capacity to assist in your divine conjugal pastimes. 6. This flickering life is slowly drifting away, flowing onward into the ocean of time. So many days have gone by, more will not come, So now I am wondering what is the means to get you, dear Lord Krishna. 7. O Lord, I know that you are the dearmost friend of the fallen souls. Indeed you are a veritable ocean of compassion. 8. I am most unfortunate, backward and inexperienced, for I do not understand even a tiny fraction of devotion. But by virtue of your own good qualities, O Lord, make me your very own beloved and thus put an end to all of my worldly afflictions. 9. Giving me a spiritual body within the transcendental realm of Vrindavana, bestow upon me the nectar of your service. Thus I will become madly intoxicated with pure love by drinking the nectar of such service. Just hear this song about your own divine qualities. 10. Please engage me in rendering confidential services within the circle of the divine Rasamandala. Thus Bhaktivinoda, the unworthy maidservant of Srila Lita Sakya, is catching hold of your feet under her guidance. Section 4 Uchvasa Kirtana, the chanting aloud of swelling and overflowing spiritual emotions. 8 Songs. A. Nama Kirtana. Song 1 Aims of Lord Chaitanya. 1. If you want to be rid of the influence of the dog-like personality of Kali, then just sing the glories of the beautiful son of Mother Sasi, Sasinandana. He is the savior of the Kali Yuga, Kali Yuga Pavana, and he is, Kali Banasana, the destroyer of all fear caused by the age of quarrel. 2. He maddens Sri Gadhadhara with his name, Gadadhara Madana, he is the treasure of the life of Sri Nityananda Prabhu, Nitya Pranadhana, and he is the most worshipable object of Sri Advaita-acharya, Advaita Purpujita. He is affectionately named Nime by his mother, due to being born under a neem tree, and he has been named Visvamhara by his grandfather. He is the only lord of Sri Srivasa, Srinivasisvar, and he steals the hearts of all the assembled devotees, Bhaktisammuha Thakura. 3 Lord Chaitanya is the moon over Nadia, Nadia Siddhar, the lord of Sri Mayapuradama, Mayapura Isvar, and the divine propagator of his own name, Namapravartana Sura. He is the instructor of family men, Grijana Siksaka, and he is also the hero of those who are in the renounced order, Nyasikulanayaka. He is the husband of the goddess of fortune, Madhava, and he is overflowing with the ecstatic moods and sentiments of Srimati Radharani, Radhabhavapura. 4. Lord Chaitanya is the corrector and purifier of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, Sarvabhauma Sodhana, and the deliverer of King Prataparudra, Gajapati Dharana, the source of nourishment of Srila Ramananda Raya, Ramananda Posana, and he is a great hero, Veera. He increases the ecstasy of Srila Rupa Gosvami, Rupanandavardhana, he is the maintainer and protector of Srila Sanatana Gosvami, Sanatanapalana, he gladdens Haridasa Thakura, Haridasamodana, and he is very grave, Dhira. 5. Lord Chaitanya is the source of all the transcendental mellows of Brajadhama, Brajarasa Bhavana, he is the destroyer of all mischievous and wicked mentality, Dustamata Satana, and he dissolves the mundane lust of the deceitful insincere souls by his causeless mercy, Kapati Vigatana Kama. He maintains and protects his pure Vaisnava devotees, Sudabhaktipalana, and he chastises dry speculative knowledge, Siskajananatadana. He destroys pretentious and hypocritical devotion, Kalabhaktidusana, and he is the reservoir of pleasure, Rama. Song 2 Names of Lord Krishna. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. 1. This is a song sung by Bhaktivinoda Thakura. He's asking everyone to rise early in the morning. Vibhavarasesa, the night is over, Aloka Pravsa, the glimpses of sunlight are there. Now you get up, Nidra Chadi Utho Jiva, don't sleep anymore. That is way of Vedic life. One should not sleep after sunrise, you must rise before sunrise. That is healthy life also. So, just instantly after rising from the bed, one should chant the holy names of the Lord. Here, it is suggested Bolo Hari Hari. Now, we chant Hare Krishna Manara. Mukunda Murari. Krishna's different names. Mukunda means one who gives liberation. Murari means Krishna, the enemy of the demon of the name Mura. Rama is another name celebrated as Rama. Krishna, Hayagriva. Hayagriva is another incarnation of Krishna. 2. Similarly Nrsimha, Narahari half lion, half man Nrsimadeva. Vamana incarnation, Nrsimha Vamana, Sri Madhusudana. Madhusudana there was a demon Madhu, and Kaidabha, they came to swallow up Brahma after his creation. So, they were killed. Therefore, Krishna's another name is Madhusudana means the enemy of Madhu. Krishna is both friend and enemy. He's actually friend of everyone, but he becomes enemy like for one who treats him like enemy. He's nobody's enemy, but if anyone wants to see him as enemy, he appears like enemy. That is absolute. So the demons, they want to see Krishna as enemy. So, accepting the desire of the demons, he appears before him as enemy, kills him and gives him liberation. That is absolute pastime of Krishna. Madhusudana, Brajendranandana Syama. Actually, God has no name, but his names are selected according to his pastimes. Just like this Madhusudana name is given to him because he killed the Madhu demon. Similarly, he is known as Brajendranandana, the son of Vrindavana, because he appeared as the son of Yasoda and Nanda Maharaja, so Brajendranandana. Syama his bodily hue is black hue, therefore he is called Syamasundara. Putanagatana, Kaidabhasatana, Jaya Dasarati Rama. So, because he killed the demon Putana, his name is Putanagatana. Gatana means killer. Kaidabhasatana, and he's chaktizer of all kind of dangers. Jaya Dasarati Rama. In connection of his killing of the Ravana, he is glorified Jaya. Dasarati. Dasarati means his father's name was Dasarata, so he's Dasarati. Dasarati Rama. Jaya Dasarati Rama. Dasarati Rama. 3. Yasodadhyalila, Govinda Gopala. Yasodadhyalila means pet son of mother Yasoda. Govinda Gopala. And he's cowherd's boy Govinda, giving pleasure to the cows. Vrindavana Purandara the chief of the Vrindavana land. He's the center of attraction for everyone in Vrindavana. Gopi Priya Jana. He's very favorable to the gopis Gopi Priya. Radhikaramana, and he's always enjoying the company of Radharani, therefore his name is Radhikaramana. Bhuvanasundara. So, he attracted so many gopis. That means he's attractive to the whole universe. Nobody is more attractive than Krishna within this universe or within anywhere. Therefore he's called Bhuvanasundara. Bara means the chief. 4. Ravanantakara, Makanataskara, Gopi Hanavastra. As Rama, when he appeared as Lord Ramachandra, he killed Ravana. Ravanantakara. Makanataskara, and in Vrindavana, he's known as the butter thief. In his childhood pastimes, he used to steal butter from the pots of the gopis. That was his pleasure pastime, therefore he's called Makanataskara, Makanakora. Gopi Janavastra, and he also stole the garments of the gopis while they were taking bath. This is very confidential. Actually, the gopis wanted Krishna. They prayed to Katyayani Devi, goddess Katyayani, prayed to Mother Katyayani, because he was attractive to all the girls of his age. So, they wanted Krishna as husband, so, superficially Krishna was of the same age, and how he could be husband for all the gopis, that is superficial. But he accepted. Because the gopis wanted to become wives of Krishna, therefore Krishna accepted that proposal. In order to show them the mercy, he stolen the garments, because the husband can take away the covering of wife's bodily garment, nobody can touch her. So that is the purport, but people do not know, and therefore Krishna's Lila has to be heard from realized soul, or, these portions should be avoided. Otherwise, we shall misunderstand that Krishna took away the garments and he was woman hunter. Not like that. He's Supreme Lord. He fulfills the desire of every devotee. So Krishna had no business to see the gopis naked, but because they wanted to become wife, and so he fulfilled their desire. Token. Yes, I'm your husband, I'm taking your garment. Now you take your garment and go home. Therefore he's known as Gopi Janavastra Hari. Brayendra Rakala, Gopavrindapala, Siddha Hari, Vamsid Hari. Brayendra Rakala, the cowherd boys in Vrindavana. And, Gopavrindapala, his only object was to satisfy the cowherds men, including his father and uncle. They're all keeping cows to please them. So he's Gopavrindapala. Siddha Hari Vamsid Hari, and when he's playing the flute, it was taking the heart of everyone. Siddha Hari, he was taking away the heart of everyone. 5. Yogendravandana. In spite of Krishna's playing like a small cowherd boy in Vrindavana, just like a village boy making jokes with his friends, but still he's Yogendravandana. Yogendra means greatest yogis, mystics. The meditation whom they are trying to find out. This Krishna, they're trying to find out Krishna, but they do not know they're trying to find out Krishna. They're thinking something else. So unless they come to the point of concentrating their mind on Krishna, their yogic principle or mystic power is baffled. Yoginam api sarvesa madgatanantaratmana. The yogi, the first-class yogi, must keep always Krishna within his heart. That is perfection of yoga. Therefore he is called Yogendravandana. Srinandanandana, Brajajanabhoya Hari. Although he's worshipped by the great mystics, still he lives in Vrindavana as the son of Nanda Maharaja. The residents of Vrindavana, they feel safe and sound under the protection of Krishna. Navina Narada, Rupa Manohara, Mohanavamsi Bihari. Navina Narada. Narada means cloud, his complexion is just like new cloud. New cloud, blackish. Generally black is not considered very beautiful within this material world, but because his body is transcendental, even he's blackish, he's the universally attractive Rupa Manohara. Mohanavamsi Bihari. Simply when he stands with his flute, he, even though he's blackish, he becomes so attractive to everyone. 6. Yasodanandana, Kamsani Sudana. He is very much celebrated as the son of Mother Yasoda, he's the killer of Kamsa and Nikanjiya Rasavilasi. And, he used to dance Rasa dance in the Nikanjiya. Vamsivada, Nikanjiya. Kadamba Kanana, Rasaparayana. There are many Kadamba trees. Kadamba is a kind of flower that is especially grown in Vrindavana. Very fragrant and beautiful, solid flower, round. So Kadamba Kanana, he used to enjoy the Rasa dance underneath the tree of this Kadamba. 7. Anandavardhana, Premanikatana, Philasara Hojaka Kama. So, he was exciting the lusty desires of the gopis, and increasing their transcendental bliss. Anandavardhana. Premanikatana, because he's reservoir of all pleasure. The gopis used to come because he's the reservoir of all pleasure. Just like if we go to take water from a lake, where there is water, similarly, if we want actually blissful life, then we should draw it from the reservoir of all pleasure, Krishna. Anandavardhana, that pleasure will increase. In the material pleasure, it'll decrease, you cannot enjoy for a long time, it will decrease, but, spiritual pleasure, if you want to draw it from the reservoir of all pleasure, Krishna, then it will increase, your pleasure potency will increase and you'll get more and more pleasure. As you increase your pleasure potency or desire, the supply is also incessant. There's no limit. Philasara Hojaka Kama. He's the transcendental Cupid. Cupid, with his bows and arrows, increases the lusty desires of the material world. Similarly, in the spiritual world he's the supreme Cupid. He was increasing the lusty desires of the gopis. They used to come there, and both of them there was no decrease, they were increasing their desire, and Krishna was supplying that. Without any material concept of life, they were simply dancing, that's all. Gopangana Gana Siddha Vinodana, Samastagana Ganadama. He's especially attractive for the Gopangana. Gopangana means the damsel of Brajadama. Gopangana Gana, Siddha Vinodana, they were simply absorbed in Krishna's thought. They were so much became attracted and attached to Krishna that they could not give up his existence of his form within the heart for a moment. Siddha Vinodana, he captured the hearts of the gopis. Siddha Vinodana. Samastagana Ganadama, he the reservoir of all transcendental qualities. 8. Yamuna Jivana, Keliparayana, Manasakandra Kakura. Manasakandra Kakura - there is a bird which is known as Kakura. He looks toward the moonshine. Similarly, he was the moon among the gopis, and they were simply looking after him. And he's the life of the river Yamuna, because he used to enjoy jumping over the river of Yamuna. Namasudaraza, Gaukrishna Jasa, Rakho Vakana. So Bhaktivinoda Thakura is requesting everyone, now you chant all these different names of the Lord, and sing. Rakho Vakana Mana, my dear mind, please keep my word, don't refuse. Go on chanting all these holy names of Krishna. B. Rupa Kirtana description of Krishna's beauty. 1. His birth is successful, whose good fortune dawns so as to have the vision of Lord Krishna just once. When the jiva gives up all delusions of mind, then only he will see the vision of Krishna blooming within the eyes of his heart. 2. He sees Krishna there fully decorated with garlands of forest flowers as the most expert connoisseur of all the amorous love sports in Vrindavana. His transcendental playing wonderfully on his flute, mellows and is the abode of all form bent in 3 different places. He is the reservoir of all relishable virtuous qualities. 3. By such a beautiful form he is maddening the entire universe. His complexion is like that of a fresh new rain cloud, his head is decorated with a big peacock feather, and his sandalwood tilaka on his forehead is most becoming. Wearing brilliant yellow-colored garments, he stands with his face decorated by a wide, sweet smile. 4. Beholding him standing thusly at the edge of a Kadamba grove, I can see that Krishna's beauty is conquering the luster of an entire mine of sapphires. Seeing this, my mind has become so restless that my feet will move no longer, and I've completely forgotten about my family and home life in this world. 5. O Sakya, O dear girlfriend. Seeing that sweet form abounding in nectar, I have fallen unconscious as a fountain of tears born of ecstatic love cascades from my eyes. 6. What a wonderful crown upon his head. What a wonderful flute he is holding in his hand. What a wonderfully beautiful form as he stands in his threefold bending posture. The nectar of his lotus feet is overflowing with the tinkling sound coming from the clusters of ankle bells which are decorating them. 7. Accepting the form of a honeybee, I always hope for a residence near his lotus feet. And I will get it very easily because I always sing the glories of Krishna, adoring no one else. C. Gunakirtana, 2 songs. Song 1, Krishna's quality of mercy, to be sung in Raga Dhanasri. 1. Becoming inimical towards the Lord, and adoring illusion, have become madly attached to this material existence. However, Krishna is so kind, for he has arisen like the sun within this material world just for my sake. 2. O Sakya. My dear, the moon like Krishna is certainly an unlimited ocean of auspicious qualities. He distributes his causeless mercy to all the offenders, not hesitating to purify them and relieve them of their afflictions. 3. I have come into this false material existence, adoring the material energy as if it is fit for my enjoyment, and I am seized with the false conception that I am a male, a purisa. But Lord Krishna, showing his compassion, descends himself and forcibly steals away all such false conceptions with the transcendental sound of his flute. 4. My dear girlfriend, just worship such a jewel like Krishna with special care and attention. Now Bhaktivinoda admits that he is helplessly bound up to the wonderful qualities of Sri Krishna's lotus feet. Thus, I always bow my head in great awe and reverence before those divine feet. Song 2, Krishna's unlimited qualities, to be sung in Raga Bhattiyari. 1. Listen to this, O wisest relishers of mellows. The transcendental qualities of Sri Krishna are innumerable, indeed one is not ever able to describe such unlimited divine attributes. Krishna is the spiritual master of the entire universe, he is like a wish-fulfilling desire tree, and he is the helmsman of the boat on the ocean of material existence. 2. Krishna is just like a doctor for those whose hearts are ailing, for he is very expert in destroying the diseased condition of material existence by distributing the nectar of ecstatic love to all the inimical souls. He gradually takes them into his own confidential realm. 3. Krishna is an ocean of compassion for those who are bound up in fruitive reactions, for those who are bound up in philosophical speculation, and for those who are blinded by other human perplexities. Giving the honey of his lotus feet, and thus relieving the blindness of such worldliness, he makes one an attendant of his own feet. 4. Krishna bestows the jewel of independence unto those persons who are attached to the path of rules and regulations, thus allowing them entrance into the path of spontaneous loving service. Becoming influenced by such spontaneity, remaining under the shelter of the mellows of unwed love, the soul finally attains all the symptoms of ecstatic love for Krishna. 5. Krishna is the dearmost friend and master of those who are always attached to drinking the fountain of ecstatic tears of love. Thus, the goal of this most fallen and lowly Bhaktivinoda is to be with all such residents of Braja within the abode of supreme auspiciousness. D. Lila Kirtana, 2 songs, Song 1 Krishna's human-like pastimes, to be sung in Raga Dhanasri, 1, showing his causeless mercy to the fallen souls. The Lord of Goloka has revealed the moods and sentiments of Braja. He who is the knower of the mellows of such loving exchanges of Braja is fit to enter Vrindavana as long as he does not maintain materialistic misconceptions. 2. The pastimes of Krishna are like an unfathomable ocean. All of the activities in Vaikuntha can never be compared to the sweet essence of Krishna's pastimes in Goloka. 3. Krishna's pastimes in the form of a 2-armed human being are the reservoir of all transcendental mellows, especially the conjugal mellow. The devotee who is following the rules and regulations of Vaikuntha develops only up to the mellow of fraternity, and is in comparison completely unable to taste any such sweetness as is found in the conjugal relationship. 4. Krishna in Vraja is just like an ever-fresh youthful Cupid, abounding in all transcendental ecstatic mellows. He always performs suitable pastimes with the different jiva souls. Thus some of the multitude of Krishna's virtuous qualities are mentioned. Song 2 Krishna's pastimes with the gopis, to be sung in Raga Dhanasri, 1, O Sakya. My dear girlfriend. What have I seen today? In a Kadamba grove on the banks of the Yamuna, a beautiful blackish boy holding a long flute named Vamsi is seated upon a throne of jewels, performing his pastimes as the king of all transcendental mellows. 2 Situated upon the 8 petals of the jeweled altar is Sri Radha and Sri Hari, surrounded by their attendants the 8 chief gopis. There Krishna performs his amorous pastimes, which are just like a waterfall of nectar. 3. By singing sweet songs and by dancing nicely, all the gopis satisfy the treasured divine couple. Thus I am beholding Krishna's pastimes with his beautiful female consorts expanding throughout the splendorous forest. 4. For the sake of the mellows of such pastimes, I will not go to my home, but I will instead enter into the forest. Renouncing all shyness due to fear of family members, just worship the Lord of Braja. This is the humble submission of Bhaktivinoda. E. Rasa Kirtana Rendezvous, called for the Rasa dance, to be sung in Raga Kamoda, 1, by hearing the song of Krishna's flute, seeing his picture, and hearing other persons describe his wonderful qualities, my heart has become attacked and afflicted with remembrance of my previous attachment to him. Possessed with all the symptoms of madness, wildly run here and there seeking the company of the gopis. 2. I have gone to a grove in the forest bowers for the lovers' rendezvous. I have paid no heed to the prohibitions of my family members, I have completely ignored all of my innumerable household duties, and I have not even considered what is religious or irreligious activity for me. 3. Going to the bank of the Yamuna and addressing all the gopis there, I have inquired from them news about the whereabouts of my most dearly beloved. Giving up all fear in my heart, enter into the forest following the direction of the flute's vibration. 4. Just as a river flows into the sea, I irresistibly run like a very swift current, thus proving my chastity. Quickly reaching the forest bowers, I finally come into the presence of Sri Krishna, in my mood of total self-surrender. 5. Oh, why is my pen so weak and feeble? Why won't it move any further? I cannot possibly express the inception of the transcendental lovers' meeting, which is causing my heart to tremble and throb. 6. My mind has no capability to describe the essence of the transcendental lovers' meeting, their enjoyment together, their separation or any other pastimes. 7. Only the most unfortunate persons cannot understand the essence of the truth of the Rasalila, just as a hog cannot recognize what is a pearl necklace. 8. Considering for the benefit of those who have no capacity for hearing about such things, I have thus ended my curtain here. End of curtain. Thus end the third branch of Kalyan Kalpataru, entitled Uchvasa, Outburst of Spiritual Emotions, by Srila Bhaktivedanta Bhaktivinoda Thakura.